Blue Diamond honey roasted almonds are my love language. Sweet, salty, irresistible. But the crunchy and tangy salt and vinegar also give me the feels. The choice is hard with flavors so good. Blue Diamond almonds, super flavor, all on a superfood.
And sorry about that. We're trying to get Geraldine back in here. Escape from Blue Jersey. The Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived. 405er again. Black Dragon. Semper Fi to you. And who else is hanging on out here? I'm scrolling here, guys. We are having technical difficulties with Geraldine tonight. And we are going to try and get her here momentarily, because we kind of got a show to do. Michael Fontaine, Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you see Uncle Dale in Austin, Texas, rub his Power Stash for good luck right through August 1st. Geraldine cannot hear us. Okay, she can hear now. We cannot hear you, Geraldine. We cannot hear you. Your microphone seems to be off. We are going to get going in 10 seconds here. Technical troubles. This is why it's live radio, people. This is why. Horns up. Let's do it. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight, as Geraldine Orozco will be here momentarily for the Spiritual You. We are having some technical difficulties hooking up with Geraldine at this moment, but we are trying our darndest to get it done. Then in hour number 3, we are going to be joined by the Swamp Dweller with another spooky story or two from the swamp. Super Duke will be back for the Cryptid Report. And, of course, we also have Shirky Poo's News. Now, while we're waiting for Geraldine Orozco to arrive, we're just having some technical difficulties. For some reason, her camera for YouTube and Twitch is not hooking up. Neither is her microphone. So we are working on that right now as we speak. I think she's going to be rebooting her computer here momentarily to try and join us for the Spiritual You. You know, one of the things that I think, and this goes back to a topic we were talking about just last night, and that is regarding, let's see if we got Geraldine. Geraldine, can you hear us?
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
We got you. We got you now.
Oh God. Thank you so much. I don't know what was happening there.
Oh, that's all right. That's right. Let me just finish up here, because this kind of leads into your intro, and that is, you know, one of the things that we were discussing last night is, you know, are we ready for ETs? Are we ready for aliens? How close are we to having that public conversation? Now, for many of us out in this world, we've already had that confirmation. We've had those encounters. We've had those spiritual enlightenments that really bring us together with everything that goes on in this world today. Geraldine Orozco, owner of Bay Area Meditation, you can find her at GeraldineOrozco.com, is somebody who helps counsel people for those types of events. She is someone who is a pranic healer. She is somebody who can do hypnotherapy. I know that for a fact because she's done it with me. And it's still pretty incredible that I'm surprised that she was able to knock me out. But she did, and she didn't even use a sledgehammer or any type of illegal body checks in hockey. I thought she would, but she didn't. But we love Geraldine around here. She's a monthly contributor on The Spiritual You. Geraldine, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know you're so busy lately. You've been doing this 30 days of healing and consciousness and really reviving the body. How's that been going for you?
Hi, yes, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for having me again. It's such an honor to be here. And this month has been incredible. Yeah, we had a challenge, a meditation challenge, and it's just been really, really enlightening. And the response has been incredible. And the focus is emotional mastery. I think that this is the key to the next step in many things. And to go back to your question about ET contact, I mean, this is what it's all about. We are learning how to become aware of our multidimensionality. And that's one of the things that are really important, that we need to start training ourselves through many different ways, through our five senses, through our ability to sense the non-physical is the key to evolution. It's the key to the future, and it's where we're headed collectively, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. You know, the importance of meditation. Let's start there tonight because for so many of us, we don't do it. We say we do, but we really don't. But I tell you, I have been trying every morning to meditate for the last couple of months because you convinced me of it. And I don't have much time in my day, but I do have an extra 5-10 minutes in the shower just to let that hot water beat all over me. And I just stand there, I relax, I put my hands up, and I just kind of clear my thoughts and kind of let my mind go to where it needs to for about 10-15 minutes. And I can tell you, Geraldine, that 10-15 minutes that I spend doing that 5 to 15 minutes, I'm starting to feel a little bit more focused in the mornings. I really am. Normally, I've always been very overtired because for many people who don't know, I work 16 hours a day. I have a daytime job at my office, and then I moonlight doing this radio show. And I'm able to focus more. I find myself in the mornings not as tired as I used to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think we have a stigma, and this is actually one of my biggest challenges in the early days when I first got into all of this, is how do we merge spirituality in our everyday lives, right? Because we seem to think that we compartmentalize things and we make meditation or any of these spiritual kind of practices kind of something that you're going to do only at a certain allocated time. And I think that something that I have learned through my evolutionary process is that this is more of a state of being. It's a constant state of awareness. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not about having deities. It's not about having fancy clothes or dressing up a certain way or meditating or sitting in a certain posture or having sage or crystals. None of this stuff has anything to do with what we're talking about. We're talking about the bare minimal and the vessel being the instrument, the body being a vessel as an instrument of connecting with our source. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And that's something that we have the ability of doing at any time, regardless of where you are, what you're doing. It's just a shift in your perspective to a state of observation rather than being in a robotic or hypnotic state of unconsciousness. And that's really what we want to try to remind people. You know, remember yourself in your everyday life, rather than just forget and just mechanically go through your day, just responding to things. You know, this is the idea.
Well, that's the idea that I'm trying to bring across to myself, because I think without proper rest and relaxation, it really beats the tar out of your body. This is one thing that I have learned a lot lately, and getting more in tune with myself than I have been lately. I'll tell you, I'm finding... I'm almost laughing, Geraldine, because I know in my small town there's been this spiritualist movement that was going on, and it caused a little bit of, believe it or not, a little havoc in our town here. And I could say that I look at the people involved, and I talked to a couple of them the other day, and I just knew they were full of it. You know what I'm saying? I knew they weren't true to themselves. There was something devious that they were hiding, and they were hiding behind the spiritualist movement that they are perceiving is what they are doing. And I saw other people who they're involved with, that were mutual Facebook friends, acting all spiritual and zen. And to me, it just felt very, very conniving and fake. When you're open, am I just playing this in my head, or are you able to tell who's really, really connected and who isn't?
That's an interesting question. I mean, spirituality, we create this fancy name called spirituality, but I mean, as I said before, what we're really talking about is understanding the mechanics of co-creation, understanding what it means to be a human in your power, a human that is a creator, rather than a hypnotized, mechanical, let's say, robot that just reacts to things. And when someone actually takes some time to get to know themselves, it's a very personal journey. Spirituality, it's not for show. It's not to appear in any certain way to anyone. In fact, in order to really be your true self, you're going to have to do a lot of unpacking, a lot of unlayering of a lot of programming. So the way that we really appear on the other side of all that work, which does take time, dedication, and attention and self-love with yourself, is a person that's not going to be, let's say, what we see in the entertainment, in films, in movies, personalities, it's a completely different state of being. Somebody that is observant with themselves and others, that is compassionate, that acts mindfully, consciously, compassionately. These are the kind of traits that are a side effect, a natural side effect of someone that's connected, deeply connected with themselves. So, this is, and it shows in the quality of relationships, friends, career, the health, vitality, because let's say, I don't want to say, what are emotions? Emotions are, we say, energy in motion. So when we use emotions or the allocation of, judgments towards things, we apply meaning towards things, it immediately is an entanglement. We create an entanglement with people around us. And when we do that in a way that's judgmental, or, it becomes very depleting, and so what happens is that we end up very drained at the end of the day, because our entire day from the morning to the end is based on categorizing things, compartmentalizing things, judging things, and applying meaning to things. So that's very exhausting for humans. And all of that is based on the exchange of energy, which is emotion, emotional energy. We apply emotion to these things. So to sustain and to become generators of life force, it's to shift what you're allocating that life force into something more of a generation. So, for example, you cultivate life force by being in a state of observation. And as a side effect, this is where we get all those other states of being, compassion, mindfulness. All of these things are a very peaceful, healthy, vibrant cultivation of life force. And that's kind of what we would like to attain, which scientifically is proven to be one of the most medically, energetically higher states for the optimized state for the human to exist in.
And I understand that. And I know you are running at a high frequency and energetic level. And that's why I absolutely adore you each and every month when you come on this show, because I can feel it. I really can. I think you and I have an amazing connection that allows us to pick up on each other's intuitiveness, shall we say. But there's a lot of people out there, Geraldine, and I've noticed it, like I just mentioned, in my own community, where I see people reaching out for their own spirituality. And maybe it's just me. I'm not trying to be, I know more than you, or I'm better than you at this. But I see a lot of people, even on the internet, really trying to hide behind their own spirituality, their own focus, their own demons, whatever they may be trying to cover up. Why do you think that we see so many people doing this today, using spirituality as almost like a cover?
Well, I don't know. I don't necessarily see that personally. I think maybe, I think that's a very, perhaps a personal opinion. I'm not sure. I personally haven't necessarily seen too much of that, but what I do see is that, like in everything since the 60s, 70s, 50s, a lot of spirituality is always weaponized into control. Religion, it started with religion, which is weaponized into systems of control. And I think that, since then we've evolved into spiritual, groups and whatnot. But a lot of belief systems, that designed belief systems, we can become slaves and we can become trapped in any kind of belief system. So when, quote unquote, spirituality becomes a belief system, we can also become trapped in what that should or shouldn't look like. And I think that's always leading towards the direction for this dogma or this idea that we're heading towards religion. So, I think that what is healthiest at this time, and what we're seeing as an uprise in our global world right now, the global condition, is we're trying to break away from any of those structures of belief systems and kind of go into a more organic, perhaps symbiotic relationship with ourselves and, in our universe, our communities, our families, our friends. So it's a more organic, connected, authentic state of being. And I think that's kind of what we want to try to work towards, as opposed to an individualistic, way of looking at this.
What about belief systems? Where do those come into play?
Belief systems are the core, and belief systems are the output of the subconscious mind, and what actually creates and puts energy into motion from the human, for the human to create something. You see, every thought that we make, every thought that we have, that we produce in our mind, even if it's a tiny little millisecond opinion about something, it creates a timeline in this network of existence that we live in. We have to understand that there's a consequence to every thought that you have. So as soon as you put a thought out, you're creating a timeline. And eventually, these timelines meet at some point when we start collecting the frequency that inputs more and more and more into these little subtype timelines that we create. So the subconscious mind is programmed from the time of the womb of a human that is in the womb gestating for 9 months up until the age of 7. A human is programmed. Their subconscious mind is programmed. And from that moment on, from the age of 7, from everything that occurred to them from the womb until that age, is where they begin to perceive the world. That's how they perceive the world. So all of these subconscious belief systems begin in that initial start of life. And on top of that, we also have access to past life and cyclical ancestral traumas and belief systems that go down, of course, which are inherited and implemented within the womb until the age of 7 from our family and our ancestral lineage. But you're dealing with that and also the collective and whatever, how that influenced those belief systems. So that makes up the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is the one that actually drives our co-creative juices into creation. Literally, even if you have a smile on your face, if on the inside you feel in just a slight bit insecure or doubtful or fearful, that is actually what's making you in resonance to what you're going to be experiencing next. So belief systems are incredibly powerful to understand that, that is actually what's creating your life. And a lot of people, they get stuck. They have all these blockages. They have these moments where they feel stuck and they can't move forward. Well, it's our core belief systems that don't allow us to move forward. Little thoughts like I'm not worthy, or I'm not capable, or I doubt myself, or I'm afraid. Those are the things that actually create for us. So belief systems are absolutely everything, really, in this human experience.
Well, I think the big thing, too, is even with children, we get caught up in an adult world. And we take that adult world out on the kids. I mean, but that's for a completely different conversation. And I'm here, listening to you and totally understanding what you're saying, that the blockages really start. We were talking with Dr. Simeon Hine last night about this exact same topic as well when it comes to children, how they lose their ability due to societal pressure that they don't even know is happening. And, but a lot of kids, they still remember it, yet some don't. Like, I look at my son, okay, and we've always kept an open ideal open with him, that he can ask us anything. He, as much as he's into Transformers and doing very well at school, he still wants to learn about Megalodon. He still wants to learn about ghosts and UFOs and Sasquatch. Now, I'll take some blame for that because of what I do, but we sure as heck don't close down the options that most people do.
Right, exactly. But I'm so glad that, he's learning some things. But so was there a question in that?
No, I was just making a comment because I felt I felt proud about that. But no, on a serious tangent though, I should tell you something. I'm gonna make an announcement here that I haven't told anybody.
Wow.
I haven't told anybody. And I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. But I found out about 2 weeks ago that I'm going to be a grandfather.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
I'm Idris Elba, and this little journey of words is brought to you by me and Booking.com, but mostly by me. Now, imagine you're on vacation, you and your favorite peoples. Beachside bungalows, perfect weather, the smell of barbecuing on the grill. You know the smell. Whatever your vibe is, it's probably just an easy click away. Because with over 28 million places, chances are we've got the perfect place for your next trip. Come on, you know you need it. Find your perfect place to stay. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Music inspires, it uplifts, and it connects people from all walks of life. The brand known for bringing priceless moments to people around the world has launched its first ever music album featuring a diverse, talented group of emerging artists that span cultures and continents. Listen to MasterCard's music album Priceless now, because finding music you love, well, that's priceless.
Dave, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a little bit blown away. And
oh my gosh,
so when all of a sudden you started talking about children,
yeah.
all of a sudden I thought about my daughter, who is pregnant, and she's 4.5 months pregnant right now, and. Yeah. And, at first it was a shock because, her and her boyfriend aren't married. You start going through all this traditional stuff, and then you're like, hey, man, I didn't do the traditional way either. And then you start getting excited. And then I decided, I made the big choice, Geraldine. I made the big choice. I'm not going with Grandpa.
Oh, are you gonna do this, Dave?
I decided I want to be a papa.
Okay,
good. I want to be a papa.
Great.
Grandmaster P. That
now you're pushing it.
Yeah. So
no, that's great.
So it's actually kind of cool, because I look at now that I'm going to be a grandfather. I and I never thought I would say myself because hear myself say those words. But now that I look at that and I think, I hope that this new child coming into our family who's going to get absolutely spoiled with love, And
Right.
I don't know what it is, boy or girl. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. I'm just pumped up about it. But I look at that and I think, boy, this kid is coming into a weird world, man. A weird world. And I think it's kind of neat because my grandchild will have a chance to meet aliens.
I mean, it's a brave soul that's coming in. I got to tell you, all the children that are coming in right now are so very, very, very special. And if we look at the evolutionary timeline of where we're at right now, we're in the middle of major change. That child is going to be born in the middle of the beginning of some kind of a revolution. Something that, 20, 30 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to say, remember that time, that everything started to change. I think that we're there. So it's exciting time. Congratulations, Dave. That's incredible.
Yeah, now I have to start practicing my fist shaking at everything now. I gotta figure out how to get to the local Smitty's for breakfast at like 5 a.m. But Geraldine Orozco is our guest on Spaced Out Radio. It's the Spiritual You. She comes in once a month to talk all things Zen and Chi. If you need to align your chakras, this is the show for you tonight. We'll be back with Geraldine right after this. That was a quick half hour.
Yeah, that went by so fast. Well, how wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, it wasn't planned, put it that way. It wasn't planned, but you know what? Sometimes an oops is a very good oops.
Right. No, it's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Definitely a reason for that child being born in the family,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
I have...
Exciting.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's a new reality, a new beginning, fresh love, man. Fresh love.
Yeah, these are going to be some important months for your daughter, the whole gestation process. And now you have all this information that you can pass down. So that's exciting, babe.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Heavy metal and aliens. That's what it's all about. Heavy metal and aliens.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm looking forward. How's your hair tonight since we don't get to see it?
Oh, my hair is good. It's in a bun tonight.
By the way, I caught one of your episodes a week or two ago. You had some very impressive flat ironing happening there.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, that's nice. Thank you. Did you cut your hair, or do you have it held back?
Well, I got the sides cut because I'm off to Denver for the MUFON Symposium this weekend, and then I'm heading over to Las Vegas for a couple of days. So if you're in the area and you want to join us, you're more than welcome. It's only 2 days.
I would love to. No, I'm not. But how fun! That's so great. Yeah. So where's MUFON happening? In Denver?
Denver, Colorado. I've never been there. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's kind of weird that it's always kind of weird because, like, there's already people, I guess, who are part of MUFON who are showing up in Denver already, and I'm starting to see the pictures online, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I'm sitting here thinking, my God, I'm going to be there in, like, 3 days, or today's Tuesday? Yeah, 3 days, so...
so great. So you've never been to the Denver airport? That place is amazing. I can't wait to see it.
No, I haven't. I'm looking forward to it. And
it's yeah.
So, yeah, and then on Sunday night, myself and our good friend Tim Senor are flying out of Denver and heading straight to Vegas. And I got to meet with someone there who may or may not know something about Area 51, and go from there.
Are you going to go to Area 51?
No. Just going to try and line up some meetings. Going to try and line up. I'm going there specifically to see this person, and Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I got to talk to my cousin, too. By the way, my cousin was talking about, because as you know, I want to move to Vegas. I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, it's $925,000 a person to sponsor them into the United States.
Really? That's insane.
$925,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. Who has that kind of money lying around?
Right? Right?
Wow. But who is it? Family that do you have some out of the country?
I got family in Vegas.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. That's
and my cousin there, my cousin and his wife, they're one of those sick couples. They like my cousin Chad, he's 15, he was 15 and his wife was 14. Oh, they weren't married then. They met in high school and have not been apart since.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
That's romantic.
Yeah, they're now in their early 50s and they got two beautiful kids. I mean, they're both grown up in their 20s now, but I mean, they've been bugging me for about 18, 19 years. Move down. And I'm like, I want to. It's to the point of not wanting to. Like, I want to get my ass down there, but...
right. Is there any other way? There must be some other way.
We're going to look at it. I think it might have to do with, like, if I started the Spaced Out Radio Company, I might be able to get down there because of that. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave, who is this amazing artist here, by the way?
That is Dirty Filth, our cartoonist. And hopefully he'll do one on your hair one day because it's beautiful. And before we come back on the air, got to say thank you to Mama Ren, Grantavius, and X1 for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. Geraldine comes in once a month to talk about all our needs when it comes to aligning our chakras and finding our good way on this planet. Yes, her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hey, thank you very much.
You are very, very welcome, my friend. Now, I want to kind of get into the whole premise because, and I was starting off the show right when you kind of came in right off the bat, when we were having a little bit of technical difficulty with you, and it's about ET contact. And a good friend of this show, Sean Cahill, was on another podcast the other day saying we are probably minutes away from it being announced that, ETs are here. Now, minutes obviously being, could be months, could be a couple of years or whatever it would be. But for the most part, society out there isn't really about contact. We're too into our own lives here. Geraldine, for you, do you see this as a positive right now as we expand humanity? Or do you think that it's something that the everyday folk out there are not prepared for?
I think it's an inevitable next step that we have to prepare for, especially with all these companies that are coming out with space travel open to the public, and other, the governmental space forces that have been put together. I think that slowly, little by little, incrementally, the information is being put out to the general public, but I do not think that it is our interest or best interest to be waiting for the government or anything like that to be giving us official anything. Because, as you know, the one of the largest and perhaps most important parts of UFO contact or ET contact is the experiencers themselves. And there are millions and millions of people around the world that are experiencing contact, that have been experiencing it since childhood, and have stories that are just mind-blowing, that allow us to understand the complexity of this phenomena. And I think that is actually where the attention should go, is to understand that. And I think that through our opening the conversation in shows like this, many TV shows that are coming out and trending now more popularly, we have the opportunity to have those conversations. So I think that, it's not just about the lights in the sky, which, it is an important part of it. But I think the bigger part of it are like those government documents that came out stating about consciousness changes, people that become pregnant after having contact with UAPs, UFOs, whatever their contact. All of that was documented and released for a reason. So now that you have that official document, we can begin to kind of listen to the people that have been talking about this since the 50s of being contacted by interdimensional beings. Another side of that is that it's an inevitable next step for humanity in general because of the way and the direction and the speed that our technology is going to start evolving, both in artificial intelligence and also in the technology and physics and science. So I think it's the conversation about interdimensionality is an inevitable next step for us moving forward.
For you, are you ready? Are you personally ready for everything that's going to go on? Because when that giant moment in humanity is finally brought forward, that is going to change the perspective of everything on this planet. It really is. Well, how's Geraldine Orozco going to react?
Well, I've been in the phenomena my entire life, but I think I had my existential crisis in 2013 when I first had in-person contact. And when I stood in front of the gray, a 6-foot gray outside of my bedroom on top of my garage, my concept of reality shattered completely in that moment. Everything that I thought was true, everything that I thought I believed in was shattered. And that was progressive because I had already been working towards progressively deprogramming other belief systems about politics, society, religion, all those things. I had been inching towards that. But when that happened, none of that, even that work, prepared me for that moment because I didn't understand what was on the other side of that veil until that moment to that degree. So I think for all of us, many of us that are having these experiences have a very important story to tell. And it's the process of having your reality shattered, and it's something that pushes humanity forward in growth. We are literally experiencing the unknown and learning how to cope, how to deal with that unknown. And I think that's actually one of the most powerful traits that the humankind has, is the ability to explore and navigate the unknown. I believe that we're learning through that process from the moment we are born, we leave our mother's womb, to our childhood into adulthood. That's another learning curve. And then as humans, just in our delicate, very fragile human lives of 100 years, maybe 100 years, we are learning how to prepare for death, how to navigate in dream time. All of these things are important, and they all play a role in our ability to navigate these unknown realms of reality. So I think that, for me, it was a process, as it is for many people. And I think my job right now is to help people integrate, integrate what's happening, learn, educate yourself on the history of ET contact, which is since the beginning of time, since the origin of life on this planet. We have plenty of proof about that. And I think when we look at our families, we have a lot of contact we also haven't talked about. This is a topic that has been kind of shunned and looked at like people are crazy for talking about it for a very long time. I think that we're beginning to move away from that. So, we're learning, we're maturing through this process, I think.
Okay, and that makes sense because you have a leg up. I have a leg up. The problem is the aliens or the ETs, the extraterrestrials, the off-worlders, whatever you want to call them, who contacted you may not be the ones who were introduced to the world, though, Geraldine. That's kind of fearful.
Honestly, I'm not sure that it matters. And I will tell you, in my opinion, and I've spent a lot of time looking at different contact that not only I have, I've studied my contact, which happened at a very early age. I've encountered very dark beings, like draconian type beings. And trust me, like when you say dark, you're talking about, if you could just think of all the most horrible things you've ever encountered, it's like being in the presence of that all at once, and it's a darkness that humans would not be able to comprehend. So again, I've also been in the presence of incredibly high vibration beings that are more like light beings, and I think what it comes down to is understanding what it means to be human. What is your role in all of this? These are very complex systems of exchange that have been occurring since the beginning of time on this planet, since the Book of Enoch, since the Emerald Tablets. We talked about these beings merging and breeding with humans. So it is literally encoded in our genetic makeup. We have ET bloodlines within our family lineages. And this is obviously a very deep next step, but it's really important to have that conversation, because if we understood how that worked, you would understand why certain people keep seeing the same groups over and over again, or having specific kind of encounters over and over again. And what you learn at the end of the day after these kinds of encounters is that not only is there a lot of this kind of incredibly advanced technology, but a lot of what we're experiencing in contact is a lot of screen memories. It's a manipulation of your experience sometimes. So, even though, for example, the military, oftentimes they screen themselves as grays to cover up that they are military. You can use drugs to induce those experiences, and they can also use drugs to swipe your memory. Okay, so, and other high beings, usually they won't even show you an identity. They will just be light, for example. They will just be light bodies, these higher vibrations. There's infinite manifestations of the way that these beings look like, because the universe is massive, a way that humans cannot comprehend how giant this multiverse is, this universe is alone. So, I don't think it's about what we're going to be looking at. I think it's more about the internal process of understanding that you're meeting the unknown and how you can handle the unknown, and in addition to educating yourself on what it means to be human in a world with many different beings that are consciousness, perhaps reflections of our own selves that we're meeting. We're meeting family members in a way. It's like our future selves as well. And all of that, all of what we experience as a collective human race is a projection of our genetic makeup. All of our bloodlines are a cocktail of DNA. So when we understand what we have in our genetic makeup, we understand what we're able to connect with. And I think a lot of humans on this planet have been bred in a very specific way with specific bloodlines. So we're kind of encountering similar beings, and we're engaging with those beings.
Okay, so the fact that this is inevitable, eventually contact is going to happen.
I'm Idris Elba, and this little journey of words is brought to you by me and Booking.com, but mostly by me. Now, imagine you're on vacation, you and your favorite peoples. Beachside bungalows, perfect weather, the smell of barbecuing on the grill. You know the smell. Whatever your vibe is, it's probably just an easy click away, because with over 28 million places, chances are we've got the perfect place for your next trip. Come on, you know you need it. Find your perfect place to stay. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
We live in a world focused on ROI, KPIs, and EBITDA. At O'Reilly, we measure success a little bit differently. We measure it in code releases that go out without a hitch, careers grown, and that little nugget of sage advice that helps make the impossible suddenly possible. It's your people who create success. Invest in them, and the rest of the numbers fall in place. Request a free demo of the O'Reilly Learning Platform at O'Reilly.com. That's O'Reilly.com.
How do you plan on preparing for it? Is it through meditation and telepathy towards the beings that you are dealing with? How could everyday people who are not in contact become one with the understanding that we are not alone? I mean, these are pretty deep questions.
Yeah, and because of the way that things are structured, and this is from my research and perspective, that because in our genetic code, we are made up of a cocktail of DNA, which means that we have ET bloodlines within us that allow us to interact with those bloodlines. Our DNA functions like portals. It's like gateway. Every single code, strand of DNA that is activated within the body functions like a gateway for specific data and information. And just the way a fruit tree that is hybridized, it has all of that genetic data encoded within every cell of that tree. We function in the same way. We have access to the data of these bloodlines that make up what we are. So how do we prepare is by going inward, understanding how to read yourself, your holographic DNA, your holographic expression of your body, because within your entire body, your multidimensional body is a multidimensional field that is interacting with the environment. And what makes up your reality is this field that surrounds you. It makes up my field around me, and all of my subconscious belief systems, my genetic information and impressions are creating my reality. So my contact is going to be very personal. It's going to be a very, specific interaction with my own self, with as much parts of myself I've allowed myself to access. As many dimensional planes within myself that I access, I can access different kinds of species, from 8th dimensional beings to 14th dimensional beings, and they're going to manifest in different ways. So it's the same for every single individual. Every individual has access to their own personal data bank. So how do we prepare is by understanding how we access this information. That's why some people, you can put 20 people in a room together, and only some of them will be able to see the light in the sky, because only some of them have that genetic code activated within them. That vibrational frequency is an expression of their holographic DNA. They are connected. That was meant to occur in that moment with those collection of people. Not all of them, because not all of them have that activated within them. So it's not something that's happening to us from outside of us. It's something that we help co-create. It's from the inside out. And this is how we would prepare, for that kind of interaction.
So for those who are not open, who are not prepared, who are blind to the topic, whether it's through ignorance or skepticism or or just can't see when, that UFO in the sky or that sign in the sky that's happening. How do they see when things actually do come down? How do they realize a new reality?
Well, that's the thing about timelines, and this is where we need to understand how timelines function. And I think we've kind of seen that in this experiment that's been happening over the past couple of years. Personal perceptions are very individual to the person. I can have a certain perception about something, and it can be completely different from your perception. Okay? And we can be experiencing the exact same thing, but you and I can both feel it differently. Just that alone helps us understand that, how do you control a collective experience? Well, it's been done, like in the past 2 years, what's happened collectively. We put an entire world through something, and yet there's so many different individual perceptions about what happened, And how do you formulate and control and decide what people are going to believe? You infuse them with information, usually information overload. So, it's the business of creating a perception. And this is something that each individual, if we work on deprogramming from systematic programming, we can begin to kind of observe things from a neutral place to try to see if we can get to the truest observation possible, most authentic, real observation that isn't tainted by bought and infused perceptions. It can be by media, it can be by movies that we've seen, can change the way that we believe about aliens, ETs, health, meditation, all that stuff is kind of, it's like real estate. Your mind is real estate. Your perceptions and your beliefs are very valuable. And when that's molded in a society, what's true? Okay, so every human, has an opportunity to experience free will by, and sovereignty, potentially, by deprogramming belief systems that don't allow them to see truth or any limitations of truth. And I think that that's something that we need to work on when we're talking about ET contact, because the way that we perceive the world is what we're going to experience. And the thing is that we haven't had a lot of permission to have these conversations, open conversations about ET contact. I think that we're inching our way in that direction, and once we do, we will understand that, mother had that, father had that contact, and it becomes a question about, okay, what is consciousness? What does it mean to have these experiences? And then from there, move forward.
What do you want to happen? When that moment happens, what does Geraldine Orozco want to experience?
With ET contact?
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, studying my own ET contact, what I've learned from that is that our bodies are vessels. It is the white hole, black hole into infinite universes, infinite potential. We can travel through our body to different dimensions. We can travel to different planets. We can meet different species. And ET contact is not something that occurs externally. And once I understood that, I understood that it is the cultivation of the mind and body and the connection between those two that allow the human to reach its highest potential. And I think that that's something that most ancient civilizations learned. And that's why there was so much preparation for the afterlife in ancient Egypt, in India, in the Buddhist religion. I mean, all around the world, you find ancient, structures that trained people to learn how to leave their bodies. And this is something that is ancient wisdom that has been brought down through elders and groups and civilizations and cultures, and we need to adopt that. We need to remember that. It's been kind of suppressed in order for this information technology evolution process to move forward, capitalist movements, industrial era, all this stuff that happened in history. But now those two worlds are having to merge again, as in with every evolutionary pinnacle in history. And we're reaching that point now. When those two meet, this is where we start to get artificial intelligence that becomes conscious. And then we start questioning, what is this quantum field? So what I would want personally is to learn what is the best way to reach the human's highest potential. And I think that that is from the inside out. It is the cultivation and understanding of the self in order to begin to navigate these infinite potential realms, which we could bring back advanced medicine, advanced technology, and all of these systems that are currently monopolizing the sectors of what make up society today and keep it in a very, self-serving systems would begin to dissolve. I think we are at the doorway of that, but I think that the more people that go in and do this work are going to help move this forward.
Is there a chance, we got about a minute left here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Geraldine Orozco is our guest. Is there a chance, and this may be a little bit too woo, that when ET contact finally is public, that something within our own consciousness will deliberately trigger that we're not going to be in as much fear as we think we are? We're going to be more understanding if we're programmed that way?
Yeah, and I speak to, it's a tricky question, Dave. It's not a 1 minute answer, but, I think that if we understand the function of love, the frequency of love, puts you in resonance to experience love externally. So if you hold that frequency, the kind of contact you have will be a match to that. And we can go deeper into those mechanics, but I've learned that personally. And this is what I teach my clients and people that are also learning about contact, is that it's all about your frequency, learning about your frequency.
Very nice. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You each month here on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, we'll take your questions and we'll follow up with more Life with ETs on the Spiritual You with Geraldine Orozco. Her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Check it on out. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 2 is next. All right, Geraldine, we have about 6 minutes here.
Great. I'm going to grab some tea and I'll be right back.
All right. Make sure everybody says hello to Cable Guy Matt. Remember, you can get your free piece of coaxial cable autographed by Cable Guy Matt. You cannot buy these in stores, people. Limit one per household. Dirty Filth, it's all yours, buddy.
Well, it's just me and the chat room and the cat. Look at that. You can see a little bit better. Thanks, Dave. Well, looks like Carl's busted again. He's getting a court-martial. You gotta stop hanging out with that Dave character. You can blow our cover. That's what this commander guy's saying. Oops, I forgot the green feet for the reptilian. I was thinking about giving him a tail, but I passed on that idea. Because I've mostly drawn them without a tail. But there could be more than one type of species of reptilian. I'll have to phone our Keith Andrews and ask him. The feet. And the feet are done. What's everybody doing in there? And hi to everybody that I didn't say hi to, because it's kind of humid in my in my studio, sweating to death. Blob piled on me, and I can't feel my legs. Have a good night, Eve Clancy. Hi, Cable Guy Matt. Oh, gods. Oh, there's Whiskey whining again. Yeah. It's a terrible life. Just eat cat snacks and sleep all day. Alright. Reptilian's got his flint weapon. Because that's what he likes to use to bash heads in. It's also sharp on one side. Then we got the gnome. Why is the gnome always there? He's just a freeloader. He's everywhere. He's drinking chocolate milk out of the fridge, leaving it open. Just as bad as Carl backing his UFO into Dave's truck, backs it into his garage door, doesn't even say anything, drives away. Holy. That's what I'm looking for. I have to check something really quick. Okie dokie. I have to make sure I have proper colors here. If not, then he's a special one. Okie dokie. Guess I should do the speech balloon. At this point in time, my brush is just, I got to buy like 2 sets of brushes because they're just absolutely soaked. Or just buy like a little blow dryer. Okay. A little mini paintbrush blow dryer. How could they invent one of those? I had a frog when I was a wee lad. Actually lived a long time. We used to collect frogs when we were young. We found out that they didn't want to eat when you captured them, but if you collected the frog eggs and hatched them from eggs to tadpole to a frog, then they would eat. And then we'd go release them back into the swamp. Because there's this apartment building that was being built. And they never did anything but build the basement to it. And it just ended up, like, over the years, filling up with water. And then, yeah, it just flooded. And you'd go down there with our rubber boots on and collect bugs, frogs, things like that. Even seen a couple garter snakes. Yes, we have snakes in Alberta. Apparently there's rattlesnakes down south. So I'll stay up in my central middle north, mostly frozen all the time area. King of...
How we doing, Dirtith Filth?
Boy. Dave, how do I... Oh boy, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. King of...
Hueco Mundo.
Hueco Mundo. Apparently I'm his hero. I don't know about that.
Well, let's put it up there, right there.
Yeah. Well, you know what was weird in Vegas? I think it was... Oh, I can't remember his name. It was right on the tip of my tongue. But he, like, Nicole and I were sauntering somewhere, and the guy stopped. He's like, I really love your artwork. Nicole, you're so awesome, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, can I give you some of my artwork? And I go, yeah, sure, man.
Was that Chris Holm?
No. It was somebody else. He's always riding his bike. Anyways, so he gave me some art, and I took it home, and I put it right above my monitor. And I sent him a picture. It's like, hey, buddy, every time I'm drawing cartoons, you're giving me some inspiration.
Very nice.
I thought that.
You are inspiring. That's what Dirty Filth does. Dirty Filth is inspiring. All right, big thank you to Mama Ren, Grant, and X1 for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for the love. You can also show us some love by heading to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and picking up some swag. Right there, we got some great gear for you to wear. And we're going to get going with Hour 2 right now.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you us earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by joining us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lacaria. Lacaria is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Geraldine Orozco and The Spiritual You. Geraldine joins us near the beginning of each month to talk about everything that will set us free. Her website, GeraldineOrozco.com, and we always appreciate when Geraldine is here. Hello, Geraldine.
Hey, thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's start off with a couple of audience questions, if you don't mind. Let's start off with Pinzer Flactum. How do you know what they are, they being the extraterrestrials?
That's an excellent question, and it's definitely one of my initial questions, which brought me to my, this kind of conclusion that I've created, which is, of course, is just, it's an educated guess based on experiences, but, essentially, if we understand what this universe, how this universe functions, that there's a certain order to things in this universe. There's a certain the way that the universe functions. It's like a cyclical cycle of patterns, and those patterns are self-similar patterns. If you understand what that really means, all the way down to the cell inside your body, as the multiverse has that same kind of pattern, you kind of begin to understand that we are one. We are one in such a profound way that we live in interconnected systems. So I don't tend to believe that we are separate from them in any way, or there is a them that is necessarily separate. I think that we are learning how to navigate in interdimensional realms in which we become fractalized. And essentially, because of the nature of our reality as one organism interconnected to one another, I think that what we're meeting when we
At O'Reilly, we measure success in code releases that go out without a hitch, careers grown, and that little nugget of sage advice that helps make the impossible suddenly possible. Request a free demo of the O'Reilly Learning Platform at O'Reilly.com. We live in a world focused on ROI, KPIs, and EBITDA. At O'Reilly, we measure success a little bit differently. We measure it in bugs conquered, code releases that go out without a hitch, and that little nugget of sage advice that helps make the impossible suddenly possible. We see success every day in our 2.5 million members on the O'Reilly Learning Platform. It's why over 60% of the Fortune 100, along with thousands of smart midsize companies and scrappy startups, count on O'Reilly to help their teams learn the tools and technologies that drive real innovation. It's your people who create success. Invest in them, and the rest of the numbers fall into place. Someone has to build the future. At O'Reilly, we think it can be you. Request a free demo of the O'Reilly Learning Platform today at O'Reilly.com. That's O'Reilly.com.
connect with these beings are our future selves, in a way. Aspects of ourselves that are either very dark or aspects of ourselves that are very, very light. We, in this three-dimensional dualistic expression that we call this 3D, experience on Earth, the physical, we are here to experience kind of this dualistic expression, and these beings are existing in that expression. So it's not that a certain species is good or bad. A lot of these beings collect themselves in councils, and these councils are made up of many different kinds of species. And these species, these councils, kind of are interconnected and seem to manage certain bloodlines on Earth. Okay, so for example, my bloodline has certain beings, and I have access to them through these kind of experiences that I have. So what I've understood is that, for example, my aunt and other people in my family, they have had experiences with similar beings. And I don't know that just by having these random conversations. They individually explored their contact, wrote it down, documented, and then we would come together and have that conversation. And it's just mind-blowing that we keep seeing the same kind of patterns of experiences running in families. So the conclusion that I've come to by not only researching my own contact, but many other families that have contact, the kind of contact that they're having and the history of that contact, there seems to be certain trends within family groups. They seem to have connection to certain bloodlines, certain species and races. So I think it's very much a familiar kind of thing. We seem to have experience with those that are in our bloodline. So I don't feel that that's something separate from us. I think that that's something that it's, as I said, it's from the inside out, how we're experiencing them.
All right, let's move on to another question here from our audience. This one comes from Cedric. Do you believe MK Ultra was a form of human alien manipulation by the government?
Human alien? Well, in a way, yes, because the genetics of those that are utilized in MK Ultra programs are usually more advanced, activated genetics, people that have heightened psychic abilities, heightened tools, and usually those tools are cultivated for generations in families. It runs down to families. A lot of these families are military, historically military families, which have cultivated bloodlines. And therefore, you can say that a lot of these bloodlines are genetically modified. If you trace these MK Ultra families, quote unquote, family bloodlines ancestrally, they go down in history, having been involved in some of these high-level groups, or whether it's certain religious or cult groups or military groups, they have had contact and they have a long history of that in their family. So I think that some of these MK Ultras are definitely a product of genetic modification that transcends this one dimension. These are groomed bloodlines that are groomed for generations, which means that there was a vision at some point that they would be utilized in this way in the future. I don't think that we're talking about a linear future. I think the way that these things are operated are in a kind of simultaneous timelines that are accessed. And these MK Ultra beings, these super soldier type beings, are utilized oftentimes to jump timelines for this reason. They are pre-planned, pre-programmed, pre-genetically modified in order to create these beings. And remember that MK Ultra is not just a human physical thing. They also become fragmented in their dream time. And fractals of themselves, fragments of themselves, are also weaponized and utilized in other dimensional planes. A lot of these beings, in their dream time, they're utilized to go carry out agendas. They go to wars. They go in militaristic agendas managed by draconians, reptilian groups, all these different kinds of groups that utilize these same genetically modified bloodlines.
Okay, let's move on to another question. This one from Grant. Would you happen to know their timing on making themselves known to the world?
No, and the thing is that I am a very strong believer in not having time, because people, they get very hyped up about having dates, times when this is going to happen, deadlines. And remember that we are interdimensional, and some of us are already experiencing contact for a long time. So we're already in the thick of it. It's a matter of personal frequency and awareness. If we raise our frequency, we're going to be seeing lights in the sky. If we raise our frequency, we can have lucid dreaming and begin to navigate other dimensions. If we begin to raise our frequency, we can actually see interdimensionally ghosts, beings that are in your room right now that you're not aware of. I mean, we are surrounded by contact. It's just us that is not activated in order to understand that they are there. So we are the ones that have to catch up to the timelines that are interacting with these beings. And that's kind of how I look at that.
All right. One of the things that also triggers the question that we have been asking here for a long time, which is, why now? Why now all of a sudden the idea that we need to be talking extraterrestrials after 70 plus years of cover-up ever since Roswell, Geraldine? And there's two things that I have always said about this. Number one, we could be walking into something that is very, very ugly, which is literally a false flag. All right? But number two, we could be, or that phone call from outer space, wherever it's from, could have literally have happened and said, this is the timeline where we are coming. You better start preparing your citizens now and preparing yourselves now, because there's no turning back. I tend to lean with the latter. I think a phone call was made from outer space, and that's how we ended up where we ended up. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that it's a natural direction that we're headed because of how technology needs to be made public in the next 4 years. There has been technology that has been hidden from the public for a very long time, and we're coming to the point where that has to come public. And I think that once that technology comes out, many things are going to change in our society. We are also going into a new space era where we're going to start exploring travel into the orbit of the planet, supposedly, and other kinds of travel more publicly. And inevitably, we will be seeing and experiencing things that cannot be explained by the historic narrative that has been sold to us for a very long time. So we need to prepare, and that's, this is how the government is preparing itself, by doing these little drop leaks here and there. But I think that it is absolutely inevitable in the way that we're headed. Technologically, we urgently need to get out this new technology into society in order to rebalance this unsustainable, financial institutions, these corporations that are managing things right now are incredibly self-serving and destructive to the world. And so in order to change that monopolization into something that is more productive, we need to get that technology out. But the catch-22 of that is that also means control is being put into place. Everything from your privacy to mind control to the manipulation of people, what people think and do by media, social media, all of these realms, all of that is something that we have to take into consideration. So I think that all of this plays a role in the direction that we're headed, because it means that we are merging from our terrestrial lives, which we are familiar with now, into a kind of space. Space is the next answer. We're expanding out into space. We need that for the Earth, the way that the Earth is currently right now, with the condition of the Earth. Our oceans are a big hot mess. We have pollution. We have so many issues in the world around us that are changing our way of life. And so we have to be aware that there's a timeline to that, and the next step is going to be going out into space. So I think that everyone, in these closed circles are very well aware of that, and that's what we're preparing for.
Okay. In saying that, though, do you believe then that maybe a big problem that we have, especially where you mentioned that the technology and what could really move humanity into the future, do you believe then that it's being stalled by the military-industrial complex?
Absolutely, without question. And I don't think, I think that there's plenty of evidence in the world around us for us to know that, that's been happening since a very long time. I mean, we can look at Tesla just as a very simple and general example, but there's many, many examples of that today where major corporations block minds, incredible minds that are bringing technology, new materials that are sustainable, that are more healthy for the environment, and they are being limited, in many ways, not only the production, but the supplying of those things by major corporations that are limiting and wanting to monopolize these sectors. This is something we've been dealing with for such a long time. That's not new, but we need to broaden our vision into what that means for humanity as a whole, because now we got to think about the real estate is the mind and the perceptions of humans. If you can manipulate humans into thinking that, there's not enough food, there's not enough water, there's not enough this, then you can easily manipulate them to do whatever you want. You can make them into consumers that consume and produce certain things. So this is something that we're kind of like, it's been shaken up over the past couple of years, which allows for some space for us to really take a look at our patterns of behavior and contribution, and hopefully change that into something that's more productive. And I think that that's it, and that's not far away from ET contact, because we're talking about the cultivation of the superhuman, the next human, the new human that is evolved and interconnected with themselves inside out. I think that that's how we can begin to access our greatest potential.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And I would agree with you on that, because I think that that's the big stall. Because for so long, militaries around the world and governments around the world, it's not just a game the United States is playing, have wanted to hold on to this technology and wanted to, in order to take advantage of some sort of alien side hustle, in order to, make themselves bigger and stronger and potentially better on the planet, more domineering. And it's really a sad case of whose balls are bigger. I hate to put it that way, but gosh darn, that's really the only way to put it. So, I mean, the idea that the military-industrial complex has this major role being played because they want the toys before any of us get them is very understandable.
Yeah, and also, if we really look at the deeper side of this, I mean, there's many underground bases located all around the world, where we have a lot of super soldiers that have been working and been involved in these kinds of programs since childhood, where a lot of this technology has been tested and also utilized by these super soldiers. And the most mind-blowing thing about it is that it's not just something that's happening in the physical. This is also happening in the dream time, in the astral plane. People are being mobilized to access these underground bases with this technology that is being suppressed by these systems, and it is a one world system. We're not just talking about America. So I'm glad you clarified that. And it's something that the more we talk about, the more we understand the depth of it, because it's not just one or two people. We're talking about people around the world that are coming out to talk about these kinds of experiences, and they kind of paint a picture of what we're dealing with here moving forward into the future.
Excellent. Let's go to another question here from our audience. This one comes from Amy in Las Vegas. Which one of your special guests can I talk to about light that keeps hitting my face when I'm in the middle of meditating?
Oh, interesting. I'd love to know the color of the light, Emmy, because, color for us is a language of frequency, and it really depends. So, for example, many clients and many students in meditation, and what happens to the body when you are first opening, for example, your third eye and activating the top 3 chakras, heart, throat, third eye, and going into the higher dimensions of your body, which means higher chakras. You begin to see violet lights, you begin to see white light, gold lights, and each one of those colors speak to not only the DNA that you're activating within your body, but the chakras that you're accessing, the information that you're accessing, and the intuitive level that you're kind of reaching through your meditative work. So it's very interesting to pay attention, because the colors and the lights that you're seeing are your exploration of your multidimensional body. You're basically reading your body, your morphogenetic field. You're reading that with all the information about where you're at, what's active. So my suggestion to you is to sit in meditation and check into each one of the chakras and write down what color you see in each one. And when you're in meditation, notice what color you see more of in your meditation. Also, identify the color for healing for you. Whatever color that is, oftentimes that organically comes up for us without even us having to direct or identify that color on our own. But this is a great way for you to compare and learn about yourself. What's healing for you? Working with color therapy is actually one of the most amazing and very productive ways to heal the body in meditation. So that's what I would say.
I always see blue. I see very neon sign-like colors. Blue,
Interesting.
red,
yes.
green, purple, white, never yellow, the odd time orange, but usually red, blue, green, and purple.
Okay, so that is talking about feeling safe in your physical body, being able to express your intuitive communications freely without limitation of your fears. This is something that you want to focus on in your meditation. And this is what's being communicated by these colors, because they are the ones that are activating and the ones that are mainly either locking down your ability to move forward in your meditation, open up your sight, your vision, or to dim it down. So that's what I would say. And when you're in meditation, white is actually one of the most healing, neutral frequencies. So that's really beautiful to have around you. Yeah.
Right before we go to break here, Amy says that the lights have been white, light green, and gold, mainly white, but very warm white.
Beautiful, yeah. So this is very healing. Okay, so this is a very healing frequency. Nourishing means you need nature, or you haven't had enough nature. You're not in nature enough. Your body is healing and restoring. Green, white, and gold are one of the most healing colors for the physical body. So definitely use those and, expand them around your body. Activate your body. You can watch some of my videos on my YouTube, Geraldine Orozco. And you might learn how to use those. Yeah.
We got Geraldine Orozco for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine joins us once a month for the Spiritual You, her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. We'll be back for the final half hour, hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear. Dirty Filth, what do you got for us here, big guy? He doesn't know.
Button there. Push the button there. We got Carl being court-martialed.
Oh, damn it, Carl. Getting in trouble again.
Yeah. You know, he's the type of alien that'll back his UFO into your truck, drive away, drive away, not say anything.
You never want to deal with that. Never want to deal with that.
Wake up and go downstairs at 3:42 in the morning. There's Carl standing at the fridge in your underwear,
of course,
drinking milk right out of the carton, and then he just puts it back, and then he just walks away. Doesn't even close the door. Not even the common decency to close the door.
Of course not. He's a jerk that way.
It's true, Dave. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're almost on to the inking phase now.
Uh-oh. Very cool. I think if next time Geraldine is on, I think that you need to draw a cartoon of her.
We'll probably do that.
Yeah. I think she would like that. Mennonite Abe, watching Filthed Out Radio. Look at that. Ross Lambda, how you doing?
That's copyright infringement right there.
Fab22, good to have you back.
Hi, Mr. Catfish.
Mr. Catfish is always so gentle in the chat room.
As long as nobody's going noodling for him.
We live in a world focused on ROI, KPIs, and EBITDA. At O'Reilly, we measure success a little bit differently. We measure it in code releases that go out without a hitch, careers grown, and that little nugget of sage advice that helps make the impossible suddenly possible. It's your people who create success. Invest in them, and the rest of the numbers fall in place. Request a free demo of the O'Reilly Learning Platform at O'Reilly.com. That's O'Reilly.com.
When you look into Discover Student Loans, what you see might surprise you. We can help cover your college costs, don't charge you fees, and give you cash rewards for good grades. Ready to apply? Visit discoverstudentloans.com. Limitations apply.
Imagine that, eh? Go to like some place where there's like gators and stuff. I'll just stick my hand in this hole and hopefully grab a catfish and not an alligator.
Mm-hmm. You don't want that. You don't want that.
We don't got alligators up here in Canada, so
that makes me happy. That makes me real happy.
Oh, I let this thing dry. I'm just a slob with the water.
Well, that's why you're the filth.
Yeah, but I gotta make sure the water doesn't touch me. It might clean off some of my grime.
Yeah, you don't want that.
I shower once a year on my birthday.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
All right, I forgot the gnome. He's got his red hair. He's just a pest. The internet kicked out? Probably the gnome.
Probably. It's always a gnome's fault.
Shoelaces got tied together and you stood up, fell flat on your face. It's the gnome.
Yep. I hear you
Between
there.
gnome and Carl, like I just feel bad for Dave.
Oh, never feel bad for me. Never feel bad for me.
Oh, my legs are dying. Oh, the blob is so blob. If I ever get bad circulation, I have to amputate my lower half block. It's all your fault.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to.
I get you there, Dirty. I get you there.
Well, I booked my time off for Vegas.
Good. Good. April 23rd or March. March. When's my birthday? May 19th to 21st.
I'm getting there on the 18th, so I can be all.
I'll be there on the
600.
18th. I will
600 cheeseburgers in.
You're a cheeseburger.
Oh, there was a place there, and they had like a thing. It was like steak and lobster with all these sides for like something ridiculous, like $16 or something.
Yeah, we went for that. Where were you?
I was still in the air, flying.
Yeah, that's true. Is that blob or whiskey?
That was whiskey crying.
Damn whiskey.
She's not hurting or anything. She's just a wuss.
Yeah.
Jesus. Hold on.
It's your cat. All right, a big thank you to X1, Grant, and Mama Wren for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. If you're looking for any swag, we got it at spacedoutradio.com. Here we go with the second half of the show. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate your time and your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we say hello to Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. And we're going to continue on with audience questions here, and that'll probably take us to the top of the hour. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hi, thank you so much.
All right, let's start off with Jan here, who is asking, why are they, the aliens, hiding from us? Why such a secret?
Yeah, I think that being human here on Earth, we've been conditioned and programmed and indoctrinated with certain belief systems. And one of the greatest controversial belief systems, I guess, go all the way back to from politics to religion to even science. I mean, even our evolutionary, theories of how we came to be don't include the element of another more intelligent or other species being involved. I mean, just looking at, our genetic evolution, if you're following Darwinism or any of those evolutionary theories, they don't really coincide with the idea that we are, either evolving from or headed towards the connection with interdimensionals or ETs. So I'm not sure that it's them that's hiding from us. I think that it's something that has been it's a construct of belief that has been implemented in our world. And there's many reasons for that. I think that it's the control and the manipulation of the masses can only occur when you keep people in the dark, when you don't tell them truths, and when you skew truths in order to benefit from those, skewed truths. It's easy to manipulate people. So I think that's where we're at. And this is why, in my opinion, this is one of the most exciting times right now, because we are really having to challenge our belief systems in many ways. Even if we're not talking about ETs, right now many people are challenging their belief systems. And I think that that's always good. I think that's the direction we're headed. It's healthy for us to do that. All
right, let's go to Brown Dwarf. What are your views on what making contact with the Sasquatch people be? Would it be the same as ET contact? I butchered that question.
The Sasquatch are, the Sasquatch are interdimensional beings, absolutely, and they clearly exist here on Earth, and they exist simultaneously with us in other dimensions, and oftentimes they come in, those dimensions merge, in which we can see them and interact with them. So I think we're talking about the same thing. It's the same thing in ET contact. We have to be able to access another dimension in order to be able to interact with these beings. That can only happen through our body, through the activation of our DNA and our vibrational frequency. And it's happening collectively, and it will happen collectively as we evolve as a human race. I think inevitably our frequency and our DNA is being activated by this global awakening that we're going through and going into the future here. So I don't doubt for 1 minute that in some future we will be interacting with these beings more.
All right, let's continue on with audience questions here. Let's go to Bomber. Do you see these contacts or other beings all around you?
Yes, absolutely. As not only an empath, but as I am clairvoyant and have different kinds of intuitive abilities, have the ability of sensing them, seeing them, and also seeing the expression of them in the clients that I work with. So, yes, I do.
Very cool. Moving on, let's go to Tony in the UK. Do you think the truth of my labs will ever come out?
I think it's coming out slowly. I think that it's been coming out. It's been suppressed. People get intimidated all the time when we start talking about these things. It's a hard thing to talk about, but I think, believe it or not, a lot of disclosure does occur through films as well. I do want to state that. I mean, there's been many films that have been made that are based on truth also, that talk about these MyLab programs from the 50s and the war, many different, occult programs that have utilized militaries. And that I think that's known for the person that looks for that information. It's quite available. So I think that we are the ones that have to question what's happening. The films that we watch can give us maybe a cue to begin to question things if you watch films. But if we read a lot of historical stories as well, we've been hearing about MyLabs, military abductions, for a very long time. So I think that we need to share it. People do need to come out and talk about these experiences.
All right, let's move on here. Pinzer is asking, why would we need or care about higher technology if it's all about consciousness, connectivity as energy beings? Why do we need to care what the government or black ops has aside from war stuff? Doesn't connect for me.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly the thing, that when this technology goes out, what will differentiate what we do with that technology depends on the level of awareness that every human has, consciousness of every human. I think that, we ourselves have to come to a way of looking at things more interconnected. We tend to compartmentalize things and make them separate from one another. But the way that these systems are set up, the black ops and these governments are suppressing a lot of that because it's not beneficial financially for the masses. It would mean a revolution in many different areas. I think that for those that are allowing this technology to go out into mainstream, it has to be with the right intention, and it has to be applied in the right way. And for that, there has to be a kind of a unity movement towards a vision for collective well-being rather than self-serving governments or monopolized corporations. Because as long as we have monopolized corporations, any kind of technology that helps anything is going to be limited and used for the elite groups or for people that can afford it. It'll be out of the reach, just like medications and pharma does it now with our healthcare and also food. How agriculture is managed now. We're talking about all of these systems of control. So it's the same with this kind of advanced technology. There's a lot of it that a lot of illnesses that could be cured with this kind of technology that obviously won't be put in openly. We're talking about multi-billion-dollar industries that are funding these kinds of illnesses. That's a whole nother conversation. But we have to understand that the consciousness of the collective depends on our work that we do internally, our understanding of why it's important to cultivate ourselves. Navigating our interdimensionality allows us to understand the vision that we are one. We are interconnected in such a profound way. And that's something that we need to work towards. It's a completely different way of living, being, and it's more sustainable. And there's a lot of deprogramming that has to go into that in order for us to reach that. So it's a process.
Very true. Very much true. Okay, let us continue on with our audience. Christine is asking, I see blue velvet light when my eyes are closed during meditation. It's like a blob or a cloud that shifts and changes shape. Does that mean anything?
Yeah, beautiful. Usually a blue light, blue to violet lights appear when we are activating our crown chakra. So that the crown chakra is the chakras between 7th and 8th. And these are the manifestation and co-creation. So if we want to bring something into the physical, these are the areas we have to start working. So I would highly suggest spinning, working with the energy in those chakras, clearing out all of the debris, any kind of belief systems that are limiting, all of that debris out of that body, so that you can begin to work with that information. And tune into the shapes that are being created by this light. They're giving you information about blockages. Feel into it. Use more than just your intuition. Use all your senses to read into what you're experiencing in that moment, and you'll get so much more out of what you're seeing.
Makes a lot of sense. That's why we love you here. That's why we love you. Bomber is asking, to clarify my question, Geraldine mentioned, when we raise our frequency, we will see all the beings and contacts around us that most can't see now. Sorry if it wasn't clear above, but I think Geraldine did a great job at answering that question earlier. Let's go to Jason here. Geraldine, when you meditate, do you see aspects of the holographic universe in your mind's eyes?
Yes, I do. I have, I've spent a lot of time exploring that, but also I realized that the exploration of that is, it's a personal journey that's quite enjoyable, but it's more for the ego rather than applying that information to what we need here as a collective. And it's funny because, when you reach that level of exploration, you begin to question, this information is so expansive. How will it help humanity now? And the truth is that we're not ready for that level of information. What is more productive is the ability to understand how to connect yourself and to activate the ability to navigate those realms in dream time, becoming lucid, becoming conscious in your everyday life. And eventually, once you train that, at the time of death, you also have an opportunity to navigate in that realm as well. And that's actually how the human begins to access its highest expression. So these are kind of the things that I'm really passionate about teaching, I guess.
Excellent. That's why we love you around here. Let's go to Fab here, who is asking, question for Geraldine. Any thought on the Krishnamurti and his approach to meditation on silence?
Yeah, Yeah, it's a wonderful technique. I think that, when I first became a meditation instructor, I studied like 40 different kinds of meditation techniques from different kinds of schools of thought. And all of them are, I think that they speak to people differently. So I do like Krishnamurti. He did a wonderful, wonderful teaching there. And I think any meditation that you use to learn how to come into a state of observation is incredible. So definitely have at it. Have at any technique that works best for you.
All right, let's continue on here as we got 10 minutes, so we got lots of time here to get to some questions here from our audience. Let's go to Pantroglodyte. Guardian Angel, ascended self affecting the timeline in the now?
Absolutely. And I love that you asked that question because this is I think that collectively, this is why I say all the souls coming in now, they've been somehow programmed, somehow designed to be able to navigate this major time of change. Not only genetically, but I think like collectively, the kind of work and the spiritual trends, all of that stuff plays a role in how our humanity is being formed into creating this new future that we're going into. So all the work that we do spiritually is affecting the collective, and and the collective and the evolutionary state and the dimensional plane that we are currently experiencing is also playing a role in our ascension. So I don't think anyone is behind. I think every single human is incredibly valuable to the experience of this time of change, and this earth. This earth is an experience, and we're all experiencing different levels, different perceptions of this time. So it's beautiful work that we're doing here. Whatever it is that you're doing, just own your experience, and make the most of it.
What if we don't see our own value towards the experience?
Yeah, and this is where self-doubt becomes blocking. It blocks our ability to manifest. And that's actually one of the biggest blockages that human has, is not to see their own potential, not to see the value that they bring to the collective. And this is where we need to deconstruct programs of approval, of receiving love, of receiving affection, attention, acceptance from outside of us, because we're seeking approval from people that are also seeking approval, so that's never going to pan out. So we need to understand that our need to fulfill those needs has to be internal, from ourselves. We have to be the infinite source of everything that we require. And when we understand that, and when we embody that, we can become generators of major shifts in this world that are really productive.
Excellent. Okay, let us go on to Jonathan's question here. And he is asking, Geraldine, who helped put you on your path?
I would say an insatiable truth, search for truth, whatever that would look like. And also suffering. I think suffering was actually one of my greatest teachers. I think early on, I just got so tired of being tired, sick and tired. That's a cliche. But that pushed me into trying to find my own answers. Why do humans suffer? Why do good things happen to good people? What does it mean to be good people? What is all of this about, being our highest potential? All of those questions drove me into rabbit holes that I was not prepared for, and eventually the deconstruction of my program.
We live in a world focused on ROI, KPIs, and EBITDA. At O'Reilly, we measure success a little bit differently. We measure it in code releases that go out without a hitch, careers grown, and that little nugget of sage advice that helps make the impossible suddenly possible. It's your people who create success. Invest in them, and the rest of the numbers fall in place. Request a free demo of the O'Reilly Learning Platform at O'Reilly.com. That's O'Reilly.com. Request a free demo of the O'Reilly Learning Platform at O'Reilly.com. That's O'Reilly.com.
Which led me to find that I was the observer. I wasn't the experiencer, I was the observer. And through that observation is where I learned way more than I was ever learning in my life. My experience began to expand, and it began to be something that was more constructive for myself rather than limiting and hurting.
Do you feel that learning it yourself was better than being, say, learning from a guru or somebody like that?
Yeah, I personally, I think that I was not able to find answers externally, and I tried to find these answers externally, but I always found limits, even when I turned to religion, like Buddhism or any kind of groups, and maybe even the more occult groups, which I actually found more recently now. I compared my organic journey and discovery to those groups and found they also reached the same conclusions, and that to me was mind-blowing, and it was a confirmation that, I was asking the right questions all along. All of these great gurus, they reach these same kinds of understandings of the world through the same work, the deep deprogramming and healing. And I did that through my own questioning. So I thought that was very, very interesting to experience that. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. Anyone.
That's our girl. That's where she is. All right, let's get to a couple more questions here from our audience. Let's go to Angel Wings, who is asking, I struggle keeping my emotions in check. My energy is so high. Realize when I sense things too much I need to ground. Still learning my gifts. Be nice if they came with a handbook. Any advice? This is a great question.
That is a great question. Emotions, again, are energy. So if you just observe yourself over the last week, I just want you to observe, what emotion do you most come into in your week? And what you're going to discover is that you have a pattern. You have a certain common emotion that you continue to have in the background of all your other emotions. Even if you're happy, even if you're sad, there's one emotion that lingers in the background, and that's the expression of the subconscious mind. When you identify that emotion, you're going to notice that you've been feeling that for a long time, potentially, since childhood. And what that will help you understand is, what's the program? This helps you find your program. For example, if your program is a feeling of unworthiness, then it doesn't really matter what happens in your life. You're going to believe that you're unworthy, even if good opportunities come, even if change comes, and whatever it is, we're going to have this program, and that will block us from fully experiencing all other potential things. So this is the thing. So once you understand that program, you need to ask yourself, is that program true? Is that me? Did I adopt that program from someone else? Did I take that on from my mother, my father? Where did I get that belief from? And once you start questioning that and understanding why people believe what you just believed, it really begins to open and expand your perception. And we kind of have to call ourselves out because we become very comfortable in those places. And it becomes our identity. We literally form our personality around that belief. And it's a false identity. It's a false belief system because it's not true. It's based on a lie. So once you begin to question that and you look at the person that's actually feeling that unworthiness, that person observing and judging and applying that meaning to the self is the true self. That's the one that you want to connect with. That's the one that you want to be actually leading your choices, your decision, the observer. And you'll notice that observer is not charged with false belief systems. It's actually in the present moment, observing and experiencing things. And that's where you're going to experience change immediately.
We got 1 minute. One more question. T2E is asking, when you are meditating, how do you keep anything from attaching to you?
Well, we attach things to us by applying meaning to them. So we have to ask ourselves, why do we apply this specific meaning to that thing, whether it's person, place, or thing? It can even be a judgment. It can be an emotion. All of that are meaning that you're applying to it. You're forming an idea around that. So we have to control the meanings that we apply to things. If we control that and we don't apply the meaning, we just observe it, nothing can get attached to you. That's the non-judgmental moment of singularity, of non-duality that we begin to enter, where the human superpowers can kind of come online.
Awesome. Geraldine Orozco, it is always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. We love you, my friend, and we will talk to you next month.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Dave. Much love.
Much love to you. Coming up in Hour 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is going to tell us another spooky story. Super Duke is here from World Bigfoot Radio for the Cryptid Report. Then we have Shirky Poo's News. A packed Hour 3 next on the mighty SOR. Great questions, people. Great questions as we turn things over to Dirtith Filthith as he is putting up another beautiful cartoon. All right, there you go, Dirty Filth. It's all yours, man.
Where are you going? He's already gone before he gets to tell me what he's doing. Grandma's probably on fire. Oh, we're just in the final details here, folks. Make everything look nice. The signature filth that lingers on all the drawings. Even the alien ship's dirty. Because you know there's lazy aliens, too. There has to be lazy aliens. Probably got radio signals of old jazz music back in the day. Like, Dad, you wouldn't understand. They call it jazz music. It'd be like, whatever, son. Whatever kind of music aliens listen to. How come nobody's ever figured that out? That's something for the nerds to deal with. It's gonna make the place look like it's lived in, right? Some of these walls are looking dirty too. Little bit dirty walls. Well, I just realized something. I forgot to send one of my drawings over to my web witch. That's alright, I'll just pretend I forgot about it. She's probably listening. She's like, what the hell? Alright, that's pretty much done there. Let's see if I can do this without breaking too much stuff. My super poor man setup. Ooh, zoom in a bit. Oh, well, that's apparently as far as it goes. There it is. Yeah, there's the reptilian. He's going to whack Carl right in the back of the dome. That's what you get, Carl. And of course, Carl steals Dave's spare fishing rod. hate the oceans. I haven't bought soap for, about 1 billion years. Mrs. Filth makes it. Put that there. Look at that. Would you look at that? Well, I think maybe I should do an art card or two while I'm here. Blob. Apologize, I gotta move the blob. Oh, it's like 6,000 pounds of cat. Clunk. Right back, grabbing art cards. Art cards, Blob, art cards. I bought 7,489 of them. Yeah. Thanks. Here's the original draw. This is part 1 of it. Carl and Dave doing some fishing. I think Carl's getting abducted. I need a little help here, Dave. Meanwhile, Dave doesn't care. And then after getting brought up on the craft, court-martial.
That's probably what happened after he came the first time.
See, this is how it happens, Dave. You guys are just out fishing, having a good time, and meanwhile you're just fishing. You're not paying attention to anything.
I know.
You're having too much fun with your brand new ugly stick.
Yeah.
And then Carl's in trouble, and that damn gnome is up there.
That gnome is just everywhere. I think he's a tattletale.
Yeah, he's just a little narc running around. He's like the youngest of the siblings.
Yes. Yes, I would agree. That's a nice 2-part series right there.
I'll have to put it on 2 pages of my next book, Dave.
Nice.
Already started number 2.
Nice. Perfect. We want to say thank you to Grant, Mama Wren, and X1 for the super chats tonight. We really appreciate the love and support that you have on Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Swamp Dwellers up next.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Laquaria. Laquaria is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again for us to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller joins us with another spooky story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp.
This story happened when I was around 8 years old, and even confirmed it with my mother recently. A long time ago, My grandfather built a wooden cabin into the woods so my family could spend some time with nature. No electricity, no running water, not even toilets. Anyways, since the only thing to do was play outside, I explored the area a lot. The only rule was that if I didn't see the cabin through the trees anymore, I have to come back. When this happened, I was pretty experienced in navigating myself through the forest, so I dared to break the rule and, this time, go as far as I was comfortable with. I told myself that if I was doing this, I'd walk in a straight line to be sure not to get lost, even when I didn't see the cabin anymore. So I started my little exploration, and sure enough, after a couple of minutes, I couldn't see the cabin through the trees and continued forward. Some time passed and I noticed something in the distance. A wooden fence. At the time, I was already pretty sure no one lived in that direction, and even less so to our cabin. So I went to check it out. Suddenly, I heard a dog bark repeatedly. When I reached the fence, there were some little holes in them as most wooden fences do, and I looked through it. I could see a dark and short-furred dog barking at me in a small house. It was nothing impressive. It really was just a regular small house with one floor, and maybe an earth basement, but I couldn't really tell. My first reaction was to tell myself that someone built a house on our land illegally and thought they wouldn't get caught. So I ran back home, like if the house was going to disappear, and found my mother in the front yard. I spit it towards her and told her everything, and obviously she said there was no way someone could have built the house here without us knowing, and thought I was joking or something. But I insisted so much that she decided to ask my brother to follow me so I could show him the house. And my previous fear got real. The house had completely vanished. I searched to finally see the wooden fence again. It couldn't be that far since I went in a straight line. But nothing. My brother just got bored and told me we were going back. And my mom told me we didn't find anything and the experience stopped there. But a couple of years later, I was talking to my father about the land and he told me we weren't the first to own it, as there were other people living here long times ago. In little houses that were on one or two old farms, but nothing was left of them except ruins. I visited these ruins and realized that at the time, that is what I saw. It was one of those small homes who were standing here long times ago, lost in the middle of the woods. So about 3 years ago when I was 17, I took my then girlfriend during the day to a little known wooded area with a beautiful waterfall near my house. The place used to be a train yard in the late 1800s and still has tracks that cross through the woods, albeit these tracks are completely covered by foliage at this point. It's really quite an amazing and beautiful area that I spent a lot of my time exploring, so I was completely at home in the woods. While I loved the area, it was the kind of place you are still careful at after dark. It's not in a great neighborhood, and a lot of creepy gangs and groups of unsavory characters have been known to hang out there. The graffiti suggests a lot of white supremacist groups and more than a few junkie groups. After we relaxed at the waterfall for a while, I decided to show my girlfriend some of the other cool parts of the woods, like a train track bridge over the waterfall's river. Coming away from there, there is a huge pit in the ground, around 20 feet across, that neither me nor my friends could ever figure out what it was for. In the center was always a metal slab that looked like it had scorch marks from quite a hot fire, and these marks were always new, although no one had ever seen people use it before. This is how the pit got the name, the Sacrifice Pit. It's actually really creepy how accurate that name is when you're looking at it. About 20 feet wide and 3 feet deep, with the plate large enough to hold a person tied down in the middle. As I'm explaining this to my girlfriend, and we're standing next to the pit, an older lady probably about in her 50s walks out of the woods. We had not seen her coming, or heard her for that matter, and she just sort of appeared. Then a little boy who couldn't have been more than 4 appeared behind her. It was almost surreal. The lady had tattered clothing and an incredibly creepy smile, yellow teeth and all. The child just kept looking at us with a cold stare. He never moved once, just kept staring at us with those empty eyes. So, the lady gives us a creepy smile again and points to the pit and says, "Enjoying the view?" Me and my girlfriend just kind of look at each other and said, "Yeah, it's a beautiful day." She gives me that creepy smile again and says, Yes, it is. Try not to get lost in the woods now. Or something of that sort, and immediately turns back and goes back into the woods from the direction she came. The child, who had been staring the whole freaking time with those empty eyes, stares for a second or two more, then follows her back into the woods. Needless to say, we hightailed it the hell out of there. I've never been back to that place after, and I don't think I'll ever be able to get my girlfriend to go there again.
Oh, we love being spooked out by the resident Swamp Dweller here. Swamp Dweller Reads is his channel on YouTube. All you do is type in Swamp Dweller on the search bar, and it'll pop right up. He's got 264,000 subscribers, and he could use a few more because his stories are awesome. I listen to him every night after this show while I'm heading off to bed. Yeah, I know it's weird. I like to get creeped out while I'm heading off to bed, but nonetheless, head on over. There's thousands of stories there for you. All right, it is that time once again where we bring in our resident Dukeologist, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Super Duke has a great channel called World Bigfoot Radio, and he's proud to come on here to share some cryptid reports with us. Super Duke, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty beat up from last weekend, but I got to tell you, I was really loving Swamped Out Radio last night with the handicap match between the two Gugwe and the mama grizzly bear, and everybody in the chat room they all had decided who they were going to root for on that one. It was very entertaining.
Who are you going for?
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino online.
I was only playing for fun, so winning was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's favorite free online social casino. You, too, could have the chance to win life-changing cash prizes. Absolutely anybody could be like Mary. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and play for free now. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of the winner.
Popeyes has been serving chicken for 50 years. And to celebrate, we're giving 5 pieces of our signature chicken for just $6.99. I mean, 12-hour marination every day, hand battering and breading every day. Of course, it's going to be juicy, crispy, and delicious. We put some time and love into this piece, and let me tell you, y'all gotta try it. It's 50 years of love, all cooked into 5 pieces for just $6.99. Get it while you can. Participating U.S. restaurants. Tax extra terms apply. See Popeyes.com/Auburn-terms.
Oh, grizzly, of course.
Yeah. I mean, that had to be a high-powered rifle to drop that Gugwe, man. High-powered rifle.
Well, he didn't kill it. You know, like the report said, he pumped 2 rounds into it and was still trying to get away. Mama Grizzly turned her attention to the one that was not down and took that out, and then turned around and went after the other one that was wounded.
Yeah. You never mess with a Mama Grizzly. It's just one of those things that is not smart. Not smart at all.
Nope. Yeah, as far as I know, the number of Gugwe reports in the Northern Rockies is extremely limited. And there's also an old legend came out that around the time the mountain men were first penetrating into the area, there was a big fight going on between the giant people that lived in the mountains, according to the natives. And apparently they were referring to the Sasquatch and the Gugwe not getting along. And the Sasquatch won and kind of chased them out of the Rocky Mountains. So if they're around, they're on the endangered species list. They shouldn't be hanging around there.
Super Duke, I got a question about these Gugwe things. Because they kind of, I'm not going to lie, they freak me out. They do. Okay? These Gugwe, are they as, how can I put this? Are their numbers as big as Sasquatch?
Oh, God, no. I hope not. No, they're rarely reported. I mean, that's why you should know how often you run across reports of those mixed in with all the other Bigfoot and Dogman and all that stuff you hear. It's pretty rare. And I think there's just not a whole lot of them. Or it could be that they're so effective as predators that when people encounter them, they don't survive to talk about it. Choose which one you want. But, yeah, they are not beloved by other cryptids. Apparently the Sasquatch and Dogman don't like him either. So pretty much everybody's out to get him is what it looks like. Apparently judging by their stinky attitude, there's a good reason for that.
Yeah. I mean, they just, I don't know, like, how are they spread around North America?
It seems like most of the reports originally were coming from the upper East Coast and up into Canada, and there has been some reports that have come out of the Appalachians, which may be one of the reasons why people disappear there. There's a prime suspect. And there have been reports recently down into the South, even into Louisiana and over into Texas and Arkansas. People have seen them, gotten pictures of them. So they're around down there now, too. And they didn't used to be, as far as we know, at least if researchers were running into them, they weren't aware of what it is that they were looking at and making note of it. If anything, they thought it was a Bigfoot. So, it's hard to know. There just hasn't been a good network of reliable researchers in every part of the country for long enough to get good, solid data on what's actually going on with some of this stuff.
Right. And before we get to your spooky tales of the night, your weekend was good?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to put out a short video on my weekend. My weekend was brutal. It was an exercise in futility. We were going up into the... we were going to go up for the whole weekend, but the part of the team decided at the last minute they couldn't make it. So me and one of the other team members decided to just go up for a day trip on Sunday. And as we were driving up into the Sapphire Mountains, there was a slate gray wall descending on it. And we went, oh, God, this doesn't look good. So sure enough, as soon as you get about 4 miles into the pass, it starts to hail on us. Whack, 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 whack on the windshield. And then the hail starts getting bigger and falling faster. And it's going thwop, thwop, thwop on the roof, tack, 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 on the windshield. And they're like, oh, can you still see? Yeah, I'm okay. We'll keep going. So we're getting further up the pass. Well, now it's coming down, and it's like the size of Steelies, and it's going ka-chunk when it's hitting the windshield. And I'm like, dude, the windshield's going to break. We need to get off the road, under the cover, let the trees take it. So, he couldn't see where the hell he was going. I already know the area like the back of my hand. I went, yeah, about another 100 feet up this way. There's a little pull-off. We can get under the trees in there. So we had to sit there and wait for a while until it quit pelting on us. Then when we could finally see again, pulled out and weren't afraid the windshield was going to break. And, it's still hailing. It just got smaller, right? We're going up the pass, and the road is blocked by this guy. He's trying to make it out with his truck, and he's got this nice camper on the back, dual axle, and one of the axles snapped.
Oh, no.
And, yeah, it's blocking the road. And we're like, okay, do you need help or anything? There's another guy already there going, I got it. I'll take care of it. And we're like, okay. We try and edge around that. And when we get up there to where we were going to, there's about 3 inches of hail on the ground, now rapidly melting into slush and water. And even so, we're going, okay, well, we could still hike around for a couple hours. So I walk out into the biggest clear area I can, look up, and above me there's clear sky. In every direction around it, there's slate gray, and it's starting to close in again. And I went, nope, we need to leave now. And I filmed as we were going down the pass. And that was the end of our big adventure for last weekend. We wasted a lot of time and money going there and didn't get to do a damn thing because we caught in a hailstorm.
No, and how big was the hail?
Bigger than marbles, steely size.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was big enough to the point where if you were going at a good clip, you could break windshields. And he didn't care about the exterior of his vehicle. It was all banged up. He just didn't want to break the windshield.
Yeah. We had one of those about a week and a half ago here. And people don't understand literally how dangerous marble-sized hailstones are. They are brutally dangerous.
They're extremely painful, and anything larger than that, you can get killed by being hit by that stuff. So you need to get under cover when it starts being. And keep in mind, this only went on for about a half an hour, and we had 3 inches of it on the ground by the time we got up to the camp. So it was pelting us bad.
Oh, you poor thing!
High mountain hailstorm at 7,000 feet. Always fun.
No.
So. Shall we digress to some other warmer part of the world?
Well, we got 7 minutes before the break, and then we got you right up till Shirky Poo's news.
Well, we got interesting things to talk about in the Southeast Asian area. We brought these guys up before, rock apes of the Vietnam War.
Let's do it.
And one thing we didn't mention last time is how did they get the name rock apes? Because they're actually called the Batutu, and there's a couple other names for them, which are less pronounceable. And apparently what it was is that they were getting rocks thrown at them by these guys. And the troops were reporting it, hey, there's some kind of big apes that are throwing rocks at us. So that's how they got the nickname of rock apes. Well, within short order, they got these crazy ideas that the best thing to do when rock apes threw rocks at you was to throw rocks back at them. Well, of course, you know what this means. It's going to escalate. It's just like throwing a rock at Bigfoot. What's going to happen next? So that didn't work out well, and it broke out into one really bad situation with a group of Marines where they had an open channel on the microphone going while this was happening. And they started hearing all these roars and grunts and people screaming and gunfire. And apparently things got really bad. And several troops got killed. And a bunch of the rock apes got shot. But, of course, nobody bothered to collect a body of it. If they were even interested enough to think about it, they're in the middle of a war zone. So they're not going to do that. Now, interestingly, on the other side, the North Vietnamese army, they were also having tons of encounters with them. And there is on the record one of their generals actually trying to get people to go look for them. So anyway, they're described by eyewitnesses as being 5 to 6 feet tall, although up to 7 feet is also reported. It's probably more in the 6 to 7 foot range. They're bipedal, walk on two legs, and are coated in brown or reddish-brown fur, strongly built with long legs and protruding stomachs. Some describe them as looking like ground-dwelling orangutans, all known species of which are currently arboreal or tree-dwelling and haven't inhabited Vietnam for thousands of years. There are no orangutans in Vietnam. The rock apes moniker originated from their supposed habit of throwing rocks at both people and buildings. And now another thing that backfired on this whole idea when rock apes throw rocks at you, throw rocks back at them, is that apparently there's more than one incident where they thought they had the enemy creeping around nearby and threw a grenade at them. And the live grenade came throwing back at them.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, really bad results. So I think they were told to quit throwing rocks at them after that happened. Said to have human-like mannerisms, the animals are thought to live quietly in groups deep in the jungles of Vietnam, once quiet and unexplored places, which were heavily scarred by the war. As Vietnam's original French were in control of it, from the 1940 to 45, colonizers largely avoided the deepest parts of the jungle. Most reports of rock ape encounters were during the Second Vietnam War from 65 to 75. And the reason for that is because in the upland area where they were obliged to have warfare going on, humans didn't live there. The locals were scared of the area for some peculiar reason, and there had never been large numbers of humans ever there in history previously. And then they started running into these guys. The Americans were the first group to enter and stay in Vietnam's central highlands and forests by having their famous Green Berets befriend and recruit the fierce Montagnard Hill tribes, similar in dress and culture as the Filipinos. The Americans finally opened up in central highlands by building large camps and fire bases with supporting range of each other, distributing and heavy bombing what was previously virgin landscape. Disturbing and heavily bombing. Rock ape encounters were also logged around the DMZ, a scantily populated region northeast of the highlands. A lot of this was up by the Cambodian border, too. Both American and Vietnamese soldiers reported rock ape encounters, both from a distance and up close. In 1968, USMC Lance Corporal Alfonso Villarreal recalled how one night his squad saw what looked like a large medicine ball moving towards them through a ravine. When it was nearly upon them, they realized it was a large baby ape-looking creature, which soon panicked and ran into the brush. Soon, something started rolling rocks down the steep sides of the ravine. The boulders were being pushed down by what Valerio was sure were adult rock apes. They were just like gorillas, he recalled. There's only one animal that I used to get a kick out of, says USMC Sergeant Thomas Hodge, and it's what they call a rock ape. You see them up in the mountains, probably about 4 feet high, something like that, And if it wasn't a matter of us shooting them, So we tried to throw stones at them or, get them out of the area. They would pick up the stones and throw them back at you, So those were the apes. In 1969, a patrol from the U.S. Army's 101st Airborne Division encountered 8 rock apes walking along a trail on Nuevo Tai Ridge. Mistaking them for Viet Cong, the soldiers opened up on them. It failed to bring down any of the apes. Eyewitnesses claimed that a male charged the soldiers while the younger ones retreated, which is, of course, common behavior exhibited by African gorillas, where the alpha male will charge while the rest of the family runs away. U.S. Army Sergeant Craig Jorgensen even wrote a book on the eyewitness accounts of one of the creatures and strange but true stories of the Vietnam War. It was a hot day. The 6 men from the 101st Airborne Division were taking a break in the middle of a mountainous jungle when the event took place. They had been carrying 100-pound equipment under the unforgiving sun in a mosquito-infested environment full of unfamiliar sounds and views. They were nothing like the American soldiers were used to in their native land. Despite the momentary resting time, they kept their 5 senses on, for they were aware that the Viet Cong could have very well tracked them, something the natives were exceedingly good at. Suddenly, according to the men, a few small trees located 15 yards uphill began clearly shaking. The soldiers had trained for this, and as they got ready for combat to fight the expected Viet Cong soldiers jumping out of the bushes, they had never imagined what they would see next. A large cucumber-shaped head showed up. The face, the soldiers said, was covered in red hair, with a pair of dark eyes and a huge mouth. The creature then stepped out of the vegetation into a clearing, allowing the group to observe the rest of its muscular body, which was also featured the same type of red hair. It wasn't taller than 5 feet, walked upright. It stopped, looked at them as though scrutinizing each one of the soldiers. "What the hell is that?" one of the soldiers recalls muttering.
I know what it is. It's not a rock ape, it's dirty filth. That's what it is, Super Duke. As we continue with the Cryptid Report on Spaced Out Radio when we return with World Bigfoot Radio's Duke Sullivan. We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio with the final half hour right after this. All right, we're clear.
Maybe rock apes.
Damn rock apes. Make you want to drink. What do you say there, Dirty Phil?
It's interesting that the same time all that was going on is the same time that the Bigfoot flap was happening here in the U.S., too, keep in mind.
Yeah, that is kind of strange. Weird timing. Weird timing.
Oh, he's got a reptilian.
Look at that. With shark
made
teeth.
one of the friendlier looking variety, apparently.
Yeah, no kidding. Mm-hmm.
Dig the yellow eyes with the red pupils.
Hey, Super Duke, I have a question.
What's that?
Does Robin still have the same number you gave me last time?
Yeah,
okay.
She should have. She's got 2 phones that barely work most of the time, so try it. Send her a text.
Okay. I shall. And that was a great cartoon, Dave. We got a little series going on here.
We do have a series going on.
Let's have another look at it, shall we?
And it's too bad they court-martialed Carl like that, but I always suspected the gnomes were snitches.
Yeah, there's Dave and Carl having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Dave probably had to pay for the whole trip, too.
He did make me do that.
Yeah. It's like, sorry, I forgot my wallet back at home. Next thing you know, he sees Carl buying, like, Taco Bell by himself, smuggling it. And then, court-martial. And he stole Dave's rod, too. Unbelievable.
Wow. Looks like an ugly stick.
It is an ugly stick. I sell so many of those at work. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, now I have to think of another thing of what's going to happen here. It'll be like Dave sitting on the tailgate of his truck looking up into the stars longingly and be like, "Where's Carl?"
With a ton of fish.
Yeah.
Does Carl want you the fish?
He's been trouble since day one, I can tell you that much.
It's the way we roll around here. Damn Carl.
Damn it, Carl. Okay, I gotta hit the sack, everybody, because I'm the only guy doing any shipping, receiving at my job. So, get up early. What a rip! That's okay. It's for this week, and then I get a week off when I go to Vegas, and it's gonna be awesome. So I'll suffer now for fun later on.
Sweet.
Oh, I lost my mouse because Bob knocked it over. Oh, Bob was just terrible. No,
well, let's give Dirty Filth a little clap here for another great set of cartoons. Take a bow, Dirty Filth. Take a bow.
Ta-da.
Thanks, everybody. Super Duke, you have a great night. Dave, you have a wonderful night as well.
Super Duke.
Goodbye, everybody in the chat room. Have a good night.
Good night, Dirty Filth.
Good night.
Hello, Cashew. How you doing, buddy? Oh, Super Duke. Super Duke.
Super ancient Duke. Duke still beat up from last weekend. 2 weekends ago and this weekend.
Oh, you're pushing yourself too hard.
You know, somebody's got to be super. It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it.
I think you need to, and trust me on this when I say this, okay, and I think the audience will agree with me. If you went out in the field with a cape on, the results would be tenfold. Poll question from our audience here. Should Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio gain strength for his research by wearing a cape in the field? Please let us know in the chat room.
I know my Sasquatch would be greatly confused by it. It'd be like, what goopy thing are you doing now, you idiot?
Holly says, good point, Dave. And yes. Bomber says, Duke does wear a cape in the woods and carries a machete.
Simon, definitely machete. Team machete.
Simon in Australia says you need to wear a cape.
You know what we need to do? We need to have a steel cage match between Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer. Special guest referee, Alopni Voladar.
10 seconds here, buddy. 10 seconds. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. I really appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live at KPNL. Remember, all of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. And, of course, you got Shirky Poo's news on there. You can rock out to Bumblefoot and read and check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We were just having a little debate during the break here, and we wanted to poll our audience on whether or not Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio, who's here for the Cryptid Report, should be wearing a cape when he goes out in the field looking for Sasquatch. Duke, I'm proud to say we are 100% unanimous in our audience that you should wear a cape while you go out in the field.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to...
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino online.
I was only playing for fun, so winning was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's favorite free online social casino. You too could have the chance to win life-changing cash prizes. Absolutely anybody could be like Mary. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and play for free now. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of the winner.
Popeyes has been serving chicken for 50 years. And to celebrate, we're giving 5 pieces of our signature chicken for just $6.99. I mean, 12-hour marination every day, hand battering and breading every day. Of course, it's going to be juicy, crispy, and delicious. We put some time and love into this piece. And let me tell you, y'all gotta try it. It's 50 years of love, all cooked into 5 pieces for just $6.99. Get it while you can. Participating U.S. restaurants. Tax extra terms apply. See Popeyes.com/offer-terms.
Get a bolt of camo material and make a camo cape to wear when I'm out in the field then.
Well, hey, the audience speaketh. The audience speaketh. And therefore, they deserve it, Duke.
All right, audience, get it together and send me the cape.
You know he's going to do it. You know he's going to do it. All right. Rock apes in Vietnam, Laos, and that entire Southeast Asia area during the Vietnam War, man. This has to be tough because this is one of those stories that usually gets covered up from a war zone.
Yeah, there was apparently a ton of reports on both sides. And another thing that's interesting to note is that, of course, they didn't really realize these things were there until all these troops started going in and fighting with each other and running into them. Well, at that point, how are you going to do any research on them? It's a frickin' war zone. A really bad, really dangerous war zone. Nobody's going to go in there and do any research, right? And yet, someone actually did. But let's get back to our story here. This thing just stuck its head out in the open. The troops down there are looking at this weird-looking thing, and one of them says, "What the hell is that?" Another one says, "It's an orangutan, isn't it?" And the third one says, "Well, if it is, then he's lost, because there are no orangutans in Vietnam." And that was one of the first sightings that they had of this weird thing. Professor Tran Hong Viet in April 1982 actually recovered a track cast, print 11 inches long and 4.5 inches wide. No recorded species matches that footprint. And his comment on it was that it was too wide to be a human foot, but it didn't look right to be an ape foot either, which is like a perfect description of a Bigfoot track from North America.
It's entirely plausible. That's a lot of thick jungle around there. It really
is. It is. And again, people don't normally go in there. It's too dangerous. There are tigers and stuff like that there that will kill you. And there's no real reason to go in there. So humans have just kind of been avoiding being in there. Now, another thing that they had is the Dong Den Mountain, which they used as a fire base. And they had so many reports of rock apes there, they renamed it Monkey Mountain. One particular hill in Vietnam, which is the site of so many rock ape sightings, became known as Monkey Mountain. U.S. Marines stationed there said the apes threw stones into the base compound. And they injured some of the troops doing this, too. They were trying to hurt them. Toward the end of the war, Viet Cong and North Vietnamese troops reported so many attacks of rock apes that the North Vietnamese Communist Party Secretariat ordered an official scientific investigation. Apparently, his troops sort of declined to do anything in that regard. Dr. Vo Quai, a respected ornithologist and environmental researcher, was dispatched from Hanoi and eventually found rock ape footprints, which he soon made casts of, wider than a human foot, prints too large for a typical ape. Another Vietnamese scientist followed suit after the war in 1982. Tran Hong Viet from the Pedagogic University of Hanoi discovered further rock ape footprints. So again, they've been documenting there's footprints of these things too. While no photographs or bodies of these strange Yeti-like cryptids were ever recovered, the fact that so many soldiers on both sides attest to their existence should make us think twice before dismissing all these stories. It's definitely possible for American GIs and Vietnamese troops to have misidentified Vietnam's other monkey species for rock apes. But as far as that goes, all these langurs, elks, and gibbons are tiny, none more than 3 feet tall and 20 pounds. So they're nothing like the size of a human, which these guys are saying that they're running into.
That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, it's amazing because we think when we, send our soldiers and troops into a battlefield, these brave men and women are, they're already stressed out over what they are, facing on behalf of the enemy. But now you throw in something wild, whether it's tigers or any sort of animal out there. You're not expecting a Sasquatch type creature, Duke. You're definitely not.
Well, that was another thing too. They're running into tigers, and nobody was seeing any sign of tigers unless one of them was attacking them. They never found any dead tigers lying in the jungle. If one was attacking them and they shot it, they'd bring it back and go, "Hey, here's a tiger that was attacking us." And everybody like, "Holy bleep, there's tigers out there. Isn't it bad enough already?" No, there's tigers out there too. So, there was recently, oh man, it was only like 20, 30 years ago where they discovered a large herbivore in the jungle there that was completely unknown. It's the Southeast Asian unicorn is the nickname for it. And it's one of the most rare animals on Earth. And this is a large animal. And they didn't find that thing till after the Vietnam War.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
But, there's other places in Southeast Asia where there's even more Bigfoot-like stuff going on. And one of them is Malaysia. And other than Bigfoot, the Malaysian cryptid was also being called the Mawas. And this is interesting because they use the name orang in that area for everything. It's like forest man. And then they have different modifiers on it. So like orang-utan is what we think of as orangutan. But there's also orang pendek and there's orang mawas. And mawas has been the term for the unknown man-sized hairy hominid seen in Malaysia. Of course, what is intriguing is that mawas is in nearby Indonesia, most often related to discussions about the orangutan. So again, in their mind, it's closely related. It's interesting to track the usage of the word Mawas in the Malaysian flap. January 3rd, for example, the Seoul Times reported that following a one-day expedition led by Johor National Parks Director Hashim Yousaf, a database on Bigfoot or Orang Mawas sightings at various spots was being compiled. So there's enough reports that they're compiling them. One widely distributed wire service dispatch on January 8th quoted Director Hashim Yousaf as observing, quote, "My personal feeling is that there is a possibility it could be what we call in Malaysia the Mawas, more of a primate." So beginning the middle of January 2006, recent here now, online forums were using the term Mawas, as did the media, in two ways. One was by noting that the, quote, tribal people called the creatures Siamang Mawas or Hantu Jurang Gigi. The other was by saying Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, Yeti, or Mawas. The word Mawas was not the most prominent term tied to the 2005-2006 sighting flap and expeditions, however. Neither was the 1960s term Orang Dalam, or interior man, used to describe the very tall, 10-foot, hairy Malaysian hominids. Those are the big boys. The most commonly used term to describe these creatures in broadcast media, newspaper, and online in 2006 was Hantu Jurang Gigi, which translates as snaggletooth ghost. The moniker usually allowed the reporter to either make fun of the toothy name or have the creature appear to live in a spooky world of phantoms and folklore. For example, in February 2006, National Public Radio's Living on Earth did a report entitled, "Is Bigfoot Back? Maybe in Malaysia." NPR's report was interesting, historically insightful about the habitat, as well as significant by the mere fact it had appeared on NPR. But aside from the headline writer's mistake in making Bigfoot two words, guess what name NPR used for the creature, the report said that, quote, for generations they had been called the snaggletooth ghost. And that is not really true. The name is rarely found in the historical literature of Malaysia. World Magazine made the same mistake. Jungle natives have told stories about the large apes for generations, though they've been called the snaggletooth ghost, not Bigfoot. So because of all the new reports from Malaysia, an important figure in Orang Dalam history resurfaced, his name Harold Stevens. 35 years earlier, Stevens had conducted the first modern expedition in search of Malaysia's Orang Dalam. Stevens had first heard of stories of the jungle giants while on excursions into the Malaysian wilds in the late 1960s and decided to go back with a focus on finding out more about these large, hairy men. Before his expedition, Stevens had conducted library research and had found details on sightings in Malaysia going back 3 centuries. After mounting a small expedition that included some Westerners and 2 local, who also served as guide porters, the team set off into the Malay jungle up the Endau River. After reaching the 12th Rapids beyond the tributary of the Kinchin River, Stevens' party began exploring the riverbanks looking for tracks. They found many. In 1971, Stevens found human-like footprints that were enormous, 19 inches long, 10 inches wide. The creature that made them had come down from the jungle and entered the water, and here the tracks disappeared. We called the others. They came half running and half swimming across the river. Bouchon came running and stopped dead. He shook his head. "Orang Dalam," he said, and jumped back in the boat. No non-native had ever found Orang Dalam tracks, and these discoveries had been the source of much discussion for nearly 40 years. In 2006, 2 Malaysian organizations were competing to provide information on the sightings. One was the Asian Paranormal Investigation, whose report ran 49 pages long, and in essence deconstructed the media treatment and challenged whether a Bigfoot was at all behind the sightings. The API report also used the name Serjarang Gigi for the Malaysian Bigfoot. The API report concluded that people were having encounters with Malay orangutans. Of course, cryptozoologically speaking, such a finding would still be a worthy discovery, as orangutans have not been seen on the mainland for thousands of years. But while some orangutans may have been in the mix of reports, there were undoubtedly sightings of real giant, hairy, porous people as well. The adult creature here that is put forward in this report from the Johor Wildlife Protection Society says it's between 10 and 12 feet tall. Children are 6 to 7 footers. 70% of the orang langur, which is another name for them, have a human appearance, but the rest resemble apes. They like to eat fish and fruits they gather in the jungles, including durian. They also have a liking for river water that contains dissolved salt, and they would walk for miles to get it. So in February 2006, it seems the floodgates opened on the hunt for the Malaysian giant apes. Reports from a London paper indicated that a team of paranormal investigators, including an Australian tracker, a filmmaker from LA, a reality film crew, and apparently a British reporter, was in hot pursuit of the hairy giants. This, of course, was the Sci-Fi Channel's Destination Truth team. Team led by Josh Gates, blah, 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 blah. More details that you don't care about. He was part of an 11-member expedition from the United States. 4 people were from Destination Truth. 3 were from the Singapore Paranormal Investigators, and 4 were from the Seekers. His expedition found footprints, made a plaster cast of it, and brought a cast to the United States. Measuring a whopping 23.4 by 14 inches, the track was found in Kampong Lukut by Gates and his party after combing 30 square kilometers of the area. They found nearly a dozen similar footprints, but most have been washed away by rain and overrun by wild boars. It resembled a gorilla footprint, only far bigger. Gates touched it, and I noticed thrashed branches directly overhead, plus a dent in an adjacent log, about 2 big strides uphill from the print. I did not notice any strong smell, body odor, nor did anyone find any obvious hair or droppings. We summoned the others quickly because SPI had a police evidence kit for making a cast, and the light was beginning to fade. The casting process was filmed by the Mandy Brothers production crew. Program narrator Gates was on camera throughout explaining what was going on, and he personally lifted the cast from the soil. So, of course, this generated even more intense interest, and it turned into a gigantic Malaysian Bigfoot flap. But there you go. I mean, this stuff isn't just happening here in North America. It's all over the world. This weird stuff is going on. You usually just don't hear about it.
No kidding. I love it, man. It just goes to show that this creature is being seen everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And you know what? Eventually, it's got to come out. It has to.
Yep. Well, I'm trying to lure him into camp with donuts and coffee, but it hasn't worked so far. I don't think he's down to the coffee thing. Donuts, maybe.
Well, we got to change that. We definitely have to change that. What are you laughing at?
I'm not like Bob Titmus. I'm not going to hang a chunk of meat in the tree and wait for one to come and grab it. And then, I'm going to grab by the arse and throw him in the trunk of my car and drive away with him. Bob, did you think about that plan very much?
Oh, my. All right. Super Duke, where can people find World Bigfoot Radio before we get into any trouble tonight?
Okay, you can find me on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and Bright Eon. I have support groups on Facebook, which is Montana Bigfoot Project, and World Bigfoot Radio. And you can find me all the time over on the free social media platform, MeWe, on World Bigfoot Central. So come on over.
Love it. We'll talk to you in a couple of nights. Actually, you won't. You got the rest of the
You're
week
going to be
off.
gone, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be gone.
Who's running the show?
Well, we're going to be, for our radio stations, they're going to be playing some repeats. But for us on YouTube, we have Grant hosting on Thursday night, Big Willie hosting on Friday, and then back to Grant on Monday, and then Jessica Jones on Tuesday.
Wow. Well, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
For the YouTube audience, everybody else is stuck listening to rerun. Well, it's a good reason for people to go over to that YouTube channel and check it out if they're jonesing for some brand new Spaced Out Radio.
Some brand new woo on the SOR. Super Duke, we'll see you later. I'm going to bring in Shirky Poo's news.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
Oh, we got some good stuff tonight. How about this one? A woman claims that a portal opening in 2012 unleashed her ability to speak alien. It seems E.T. phoned home, and when they called back, Maeve Walker, the Colombian TikToker, answered the phone and now can speak fluently to extraterrestrials. Still, Maeve is happy to showcase her skills, appearing on the Mexican morning show Venga la Alegría to explain how she uses a galactic portal to receive messages. So what does she do with these messages? Well, for a small fee, because, there always has to be a fee with this stuff. $75, by the way. Maeve will help you develop your own psychic gifts. Yep. Old Davy having a tough time swallowing this one. However, we don't need the psychic ability to know that her TV appearance would make a splash on social media, as one compared her to Donnie Thornberry, the feral son of the wild Thornberrys who mutters unintelligible phrases throughout the show. Yeah, others pulled up an article about Emanuela Rose commenting, Maeve Walker, who? Yeah, Emanuela spoke to Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield on This Morning and claims to have an alien boyfriend, saying that they go all the way with her extraterrestrial partner. Yep, that's right. While Maeve speaks fluent alien, she hasn't figured out which species she's actually talking. What is it? Are you talking Lyran? Are you talking Draconian? I don't know. But, by the way, she does recommend dating aliens, too. Can't make this up, people. A hiker out in Pennsylvania reckons he found Bigfoot tracks while out in the woods, and even took photos to prove it. Joseph Kenneth Savelli was out in an area of the woodlands where he said he was very familiar with when he stumbled across what he believes to be whopping Bigfoot tracks, the largest of which was 1 foot wide and 17 inches long. Savelli shared the snaps of the tracks onto the BFRO Facebook page, writing, "Being in this area hiking for 3 years and finding a large amount of footprints in the mud. Largest one, 17 inches long, about a foot wide. The one in the picture measures 13 inches. Oh, it looks like the one I casted earlier this year." Yeah, he shared a couple photos of the tracks, which do appear to be foot-shaped. The enduring mystery of Bigfoot or Sasquatch has captured people's imaginations for decades, with new sightings popping up on a regular basis. Just last month, a TikTok user claimed to have caught footage of Bigfoot. In that footage at Cryptid University, the men can be seen driving through a forest on a track with a branch across it. Caption of the video reads, oh yeah, that's that fake video where the guy in this black bodysuit was running through the trees. Yeah, come on. See, this is what kills it for us. Finally tonight, remember when your parents taught you, if you're about to get down and dirty, wrap it up, and if they didn't give you that talk, it's an important lesson. Well, earlier this year, an Austrian man in his 50s went on a trip to Colombia. When he returned home, he brought with him a souvenir. Yep, super gonorrhea. Super gonorrhea. Yeah. Not just gonorrhea, that's not good enough. Super gonorrhea, according to medical professionals. Yet, the hot vacation, he found somebody to make sweet love to, and apparently they gave him a present. Gonorrhea could typically be treated with antibiotics. The doctors gave him the medication, sent him on his way, but he still got it. Oh, that just sucks. Yep. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino online.
I was only playing for fun, so winning was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's favorite free online social casino. You too could have the chance to win life-changing cash prizes. Absolutely anybody could be like Mary. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and play for free now. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of the winner.
Popeyes has been serving chicken for 50 years. And to celebrate, we're giving 5 pieces of our signature chicken for just $6.99. I mean, 12-hour marination every day, hand battering and breading every day. Of course, it's going to be juicy, crispy, and delicious. We put some time and love into this piece, and let me tell you, y'all gotta try it. It's 50 years of love, all cooked into 5 pieces for just $6.99. Get it while you can. Participating U.S. restaurants. Tax extra terms apply. See Popeyes.com/offer-terms.